Chapter 25-21. You're the patriarch of the Garnier clan? Duan Lingtian glanced at Da, who was holding the patriarch of the Garnier clan in his hand as though he was holding a piece of trash, and said calmly, "You can continue to give out orders now. I'd like to see the power of these disaster-level battleships as well." When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, he raised his head slightly and looked at the remaining 17 disaster-level battleships. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, not only did Da's expression turn unsightly, but the high-ranking officials of the Garnier clan who heard Duan Lingtian's words had an equally unsightly expression on their faces. "Who can tell me, who is this cultivator?" "This cultivator is definitely a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. It's impossible for a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial to be unharmed from the explosion. How did our Garnier clan offend such a terrifying person? After all, there are only a handful of 4-tribulation bodiless celestials in the dozens of galaxies around the Castel Galaxy. The Garnier clan has records of all the 4-tribulation bodiless celestials in the dozens of galaxies around the Castel Galaxy. However, there's no record of this person. If this person is a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial, it's impossible for the Garnier clan to make an enemy out of him, let alone send out a disaster-level battleship to kill him." At this moment, the high-ranking officials of the Garnier clan realized they had met their match. The purple-clad young man who looked like a god of war in the projection was at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. Even if he's only a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial, he should be able to escape unscathed from the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan. It's impossible for us to kill him. If he's a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial, the 17 disaster-level battleships would only be able to injure him lightly. He could even destroy the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan even if he's injured. The Garnier clan can't afford to offend this person. Apart from Da, who was captured by Duan Lingtian, the high-ranking officials of the Garnier clan quickly called for an emergency meeting. In the end, they reached a consensus. This purple-clothed young man was not someone to be trifled with. "If our Garnier family survives this calamity, I'll retire and no longer interfere with the family's affairs." After the emergency meeting, the first elder of the Garnier family said solemnly. After all, he was the one who suggested to kill the 2 cultivators with great fanfare back then. He had to take a lot of responsibility. "Clan leader, the result of the emergency meeting is that this purple-clad young man is at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. He might even be stronger than that. Get his forgiveness at all cost." Soon after, the chip receiver planted in Dal, the patriarch of the Garnier family, received the message from the Garnier family. "He's at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial." After receiving the message, Da's heart trembled. Naturally, he knew what this meant. 4-tribulation bodiless celestials might not be a match for the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan, but they would definitely be able to escape unscathed. If such a person managed to escape unscathed, it would be a disaster for the Garnier clan. As for 4-tribulation bodiless celestials and even a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial, they could easily destroy the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan even if they were only slightly injured. For this reason, regardless of whether the purple-clad young man was a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or stronger, the Garnier clan could not afford to offend him. "Sir, I admit defeat." "The Garnier clan will admit defeat." Da took a deep breath and lowered his proud head as the patriarch of Garnier family. "Admit defeat." Upon hearing Da's words, Duan Lingtian frowned slightly. "Based on your words, you don't intend to order the 17 disaster-level battleships to attack me?" I wouldn't dare." Da lowered his head even more. His expression was one of uneasiness. Now, when he thought about what he had just done, there was only regret in his heart. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Therefore, he could only minimize the loss of the Garnier clan. For this reason, he was willing to be humiliated in front of everyone in the Cost Galaxy. What's going on? The patriarch of the Garnier clan has admitted defeat. Meanwhile, the people in the Cost Galaxy who were watching the live broadcast were shocked. What a joke. That was the Garnier clan. As one of the 3 strongest forces in the Cost Galaxy, the Garnier clan could do whatever they wanted in the Cost Galaxy. Moreover, In the dozens of galaxies around the Coast Galaxy, there was not a single force that dared to offend the Garnier clan. However, the patriarch of the Garnier clan had actually admitted defeat to a cultivator. The patriarch of the Garnier clan has admitted defeat to the Garnier clan as well. It seems like the Garnier clan is unwilling to offend this purple-clad young man. It's normal. Didn't you see the strength the purple-clad young man displayed earlier? It's impossible for a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial to possess such strength. Only a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above would possess such strength. Does this mean the purple-clad young man's cultivation base is at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above? If that's the case, then everything makes sense. The Garnier clan doesn't dare to act recklessly in front of a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above. The people in the Coast Galaxy knew what it meant to be a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above. A 4-tribulation bodiless celestial was not someone a disaster-level battleship could kill. Moreover, they were even stronger than a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. When the people in the Coast Galaxy thought the Garnier clan's actions were embarrassing, they did not laugh at them. After all, they knew even if they were the patriarch of the Garnier clan, they would still do the same. The Garnier clan has bitten off more than they can chew this time. I hope this powerhouse will annihilate the Garnier clan in a fit of rage. In that case, we'll have one less opponent. The other two families in the Coast Galaxy that were as famous as the Garnier family hoped that the purple-clothed male cultivator in the projection would destroy the Garnier family in a fit of rage. I'll give you a chance. Order the 17 disaster-level battleships to open fire on me. Duan Ling Tian glanced at Da, who had his head lowered, and said, I'll give you 5 breaths. If you don't order them to open fire after 5 breaths, not only will I kill you, but I'll annihilate the Garnier family as well. You only have 4 breaths left. As soon as Da heard Duan Ling Tian's voice, his expression changed drastically. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian's voice was projected into the ears of everyone in the Castel Galaxy. Madman! Madman! Even if he's a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial, he should be severely injured if not killed by 17 disaster-level battleships, right? I don't think he's a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. He might be even stronger than a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. Otherwise, how could he be so confident that the Garnier clan would order the 17 disaster-level battleships to open fire on him? You have a point. Does this mean he's a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial? The people in the Coast Galaxy were stunned by Duan Lingtian's words. Soon after, they broke out in discussion again. Similar discussions could be heard in every corner of the Coast Galaxy. What's he trying to do? What's he trying to do? Is he trying to torture himself? The members of the Garnier clan were flustered. They could not figure out why Duan Lingtian would do such a thing. This cultivator is very confident. It seems like he's not just a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. I hope this cultivator will be able to destroy the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan in one go. At that time, the Garnier clan will no longer be one of the 3 strongest clans in the Coast Galaxy. There will only be 2 strongest clans in the Coast Galaxy. The other 2 clans in the Coast Galaxy who were as famous as the Garnier clan were gloating over Duan Lingtian's misfortune. Sir, Da looked at Duan Lingtian as though he wanted to say something. You only have 1 breath left. Duan Lingtian's tone suddenly turned cold, making Da feel as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. In the next instant, he no longer dared to hesitate. He quickly ordered the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan to open fire on Duan Lingtian. At this moment, he no longer cared that he was being carried by Duan Lingtian. It was as though he did not realize that the Garnier clan was in a dire situation. Once the 17 disaster-level battleships opened fire, he would be completely exposed to the attacks of the disaster-level battleships. Open fire! Open fire! Almost at the same time as Da gave the order, the 17 disaster-level battleships also received the order. Moreover, the order was immediately transmitted to the people operating the disaster-level battleships, causing them to take action immediately. After a few moments, boom, 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 bang, 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 bang. Chapter 25-22. In just a blink of an eye, the people in the Cost Galaxy could see Duan Lingtian and Da, the patriarch of the Cost clan, being bombarded by laser cannons, electromagnetic cannons, super nuclear bombs, and other large-scale weapons. Boom, 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 boom. Deafening explosions reverberated in the air. Even though the energy from outer space collided with each other, the shockwave from the collision tore through the sky and swept toward planet Sat-Tel, the mother planet of the Cost Galaxy. Boom, boom, rumble. At this moment, the entire planet Sat-Tel shook violently from the impact of the 17 disaster-level battleships. As planet Sat-Tel shook, all the buildings on planet Sat-Tel collapsed as well. They could not withstand the impact of the shockwave from outer space. Fortunately, the tremors were gradually increasing. Otherwise, who knew how many people on planet Sat-Tel would have died from this violent earthquake? Because the tremors were gradually increasing, the people on planet Sat-Tel had enough time to use all kinds of aircraft to lift themselves into the air, successfully avoiding the violent earthquake that occurred on planet Sat-Tel. How terrifying! Is this the power of 17 disaster-level battleships? Under the bombardment of this level of cannon fire, can that cultivator, who seems to be very confident, survive? Is a 4 bodiless celestial really able to survive after being hit by such a powerful cannon? While everyone on planet Sat-Tel was busy leaving the surface of planet Sat-Tel and running for their lives, everyone in the Cost Galaxy looked at the continuously rising giant mushroom cloud in the projection. Their hearts couldn't help but tremble. Bang, 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 boom, 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 boom. The bombardment from the 17 disaster-level battleships continued for about 15 minutes before it gradually stopped. At this moment, the space that was initially engulfed by thunderous explosions gradually regained its calm. At this moment, the mushroom cloud that had been rising up continuously also began to shrink. That cultivator. Is he still alive? Now, everyone in the Cost star system, including the people on the surface of planet Saturn, was staring at the shrinking mushroom cloud in the projection. They were curious if the purple-clothed male cultivator was still alive. Even if he's still alive, he must be severely injured, right? With such a powerful attack, he must be injured. I think so too. Throughout the Cost star system, before the projection, most people thought so. Just as everyone in the Cost Galaxy saw the mushroom cloud in the projection getting smaller and smaller, and it was about to disappear, a voice suddenly rang out. Disaster-level battleship. At this moment, a voice that was extremely familiar to them rang out in a leisurely manner. This voice sounded very languid. It did not sound like the voice of an injured person at all. That's all. At the same time, the voice sounded again, continuing the previous sentence. Disaster-level battleship. That's all. The sound came from within the mushroom cloud that was about to disappear. How? How's this possible? He's not injured at all. Even the robes on his body are intact. Not only is his robe intact, there's not a single wrinkle on it. Even the patriarch of the Garnier family, Da, who's in his hand, is unharmed. Did they really get hit by the 17 disaster-level battleships' cannons? Heavens! I'm not dreaming, right? Through the projection, everyone in the Cost star system saw an unforgettable scene. The purple-robed young cultivator walked out of the place where the 17 disaster-level battleships had been bombarded for 15 minutes, completely unscathed. Moreover, that was not all. Even the patriarch of the Garnier family who was in his hand was unscathed. 6 tribulation bodiless celestial. He's at least a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial. When Duan Lingtian lifted Dal, the patriarch of the Garnier family, out of the mushroom cloud with a relaxed expression on his face, Dal, who was in a daze, suddenly regained his senses. He could not help but exclaim in shock, "Brother Lingtian, you're really strong. A 6 tribulation bodiless celestial?" The moment Da's words left his mouth, everyone in the Cost Galaxy was speechless. It was as though someone had grabbed their throats. 6 tribulation bodiless celestial. Why would a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial appear in the Cost Galaxy? Why would a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial come to the Cost Galaxy? The strongest cultivator in the dozens of galaxies around the Cost Galaxy is only a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. This purple-clad young cultivator is a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial. Did Da, the patriarch of the Cost clan, make a mistake? There's no mistake. Even a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial would be injured by the cannons of the 17 disaster-level battleships. However, this purple-clad young cultivator is completely unharmed. Even his robe isn't damaged at all. He's at least a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial. In the Cost Galaxy, the first to react were the interstellar merchants who frequented the galaxies around the Cost Galaxy. They were knowledgeable, so it was easy for them to determine Duan Lingtian's strength was at least a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial. Naturally, this was also due to the 17 disaster-level battleships. Otherwise, no matter how knowledgeable they would not be able to determine if a person was a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial based on his appearance, figure, and temperament. Since you've cooperated, I'll only kill you from the Garnier family. Before the people from the Cost Galaxy could regain their senses, Duan Lingtian said as he glanced at the clan leader of the Cost clan, Dal, who was in his hand. At the instant Da's expression changed drastically, Duan Lingtian's hand shook as he tossed Da into the air. Bang! With just a casual slap, he killed Da, who was not even a cultivator. Patriarch! The members of the Cost clan cried out in grief when they saw Da being killed through the projection. Let's go! After killing Da, Duan Lingtian flew toward Tang Xiao, who had been watching from afar. After greeting her, he brought her along with him as he stepped on the sword formation and left. Since Duan Lingtian was traveling at full speed with Tang Xiao, it was as though they had disappeared into thin air. Although the projection had been specially processed, it still could not capture Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao's figures when they left. Only the 17 disaster-level battleships hovered motionlessly in space. It was as though there were 17 gigantic mountains hovering in space. How's this possible? Even the projection can't capture his figure. Even a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial would be able to capture his figure through the projection. However, the purple-clad young man and the female cultivator didn't even leave a trace in the projection. The interstellar merchants in the Cost Galaxy were dumbfounded. After regaining their senses after a long while, the same thought popped up in their minds at the same time. A 7-tribulation bodiless celestial. That purple-clad young man must be a 7-tribulation bodiless celestial. Only a 7-tribulation bodiless celestial would be able to escape from the projection. The cursed clan should be thankful that this 7-tribulation bodiless celestial isn't someone who kills indiscriminately. Otherwise, if he was enraged, let alone the cursed clan, the entire cursed galaxy would be annihilated. A 7-tribulation bodiless celestial would be able to kill all of us before we could escape. The group of interstellar merchants could not help but feel relieved when they realized Duan Lingtian was a 7-tribulation bodiless celestial. They were relieved that Duan Lingtian was not a bloodthirsty person. 7-tribulation bodiless celestial? That purple-clad young man must be a 7-tribulation bodiless celestial at least. Soon after, the speculations of the interstellar merchants spread throughout the Cost Galaxy, causing everyone in the Cost Galaxy to shudder in fear. As for the members of the Garnier clan, most of them were so frightened that they fell to the ground, unable to get up. I deserve to die. I deserve to die. I almost caused the clan to be doomed. The Grand Elder of the Garnier clan kneeled on the ground and took out a laser gun. He pulled the safety pin and fired the gun to atone for his mistake. Over the next few days, the Cost Galaxy gradually regained its peace. However, the scene that day was unforgettable for the people in the Cost Galaxy. The godlike purple-clad young man's figure was deeply engraved in their minds. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of this. It would take Duan Lingtian 3 months to travel from the Cost Galaxy to the galaxy where planet Yanghuang was located, even if he brought Tang Xiao with him at full speed. During these 3 months, Duan Lingtian learned a lot about the galaxies ruled by technology from Tang Xiao. The disaster-level battleship isn't the most powerful weapon in a galaxy ruled by technology. That Cost star system is just a star system ruled by ordinary technology. There's an apocalypse-level battleship above the disaster-level battleship. That's the most powerful weapon in Yang Huang realm. After learning about this from Tang Xiao, Duan Lingtian could not help but ask. Chapter 25-23. Of course not. Tang Xiao shook her head in response to Duan Lingtian's question. Although apocalypse-level battleships are powerful, one of them can only kill a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial at most. If a dozen of them are deployed, they'll be able to injure a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. However, if they want to injure a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial, they'll need at least hundreds of apocalypse-level battleships. As for killing a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial, it'll be difficult no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships there are. Unless the 7 tribulation bodiless celestial has a death wish. A 7 tribulation bodiless celestial is able to escape unscathed from an apocalypse-level battleship fleet. As for an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, they'll only need to pay a small price to destroy an apocalypse-level battleship fleet. As for a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, it'll be a piece of cake for him to destroy an apocalypse-level battleship fleet. Tang Xiao paused for a moment before she looked at Duan Lingtian and said, no matter how powerful an apocalypse-level battleship is, it's impossible for it to cast a soul attack. For this reason, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships there are, they won't be able to withstand a single blow from you. Naturally, an apocalypse-level battleship is much more powerful than the disaster-level battleship we saw in the Coast Galaxy. You should have a better understanding of the disaster-level battleship after the previous encounter. Duan Lingtian nodded. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. Previously, when he was in the Coast Galaxy, he had asked the patriarch of the Garnier family to order the 17 disaster-level battleships to attack him not because he was a masochist, but because he wanted to see how powerful the disaster-level battleships were. In the end, the disaster-level battleships had disappointed him. Although the 18 disaster-level battleships in the Coast Galaxy seemed powerful, it only took one apocalypse-level battleship to destroy all of them. Even if 18 disaster-level battleships fired at the same time, it would still be difficult for them to penetrate the hull of an apocalypse-level battleship. Tang Xiao continued to say, naturally, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships there are, they're nothing in front of you. In the end, Tang Xiao gave Duan Lingtian a lift. Needless to say, Duan Lingtian was quite pleased to be praised by Tang Xiao. Apocalypse-level battleship represents the highest level of technology in the Yang Huang Plain. Duan Lingtian didn't forget what Tang Xiao had told him before. Based on what Tang Xiao had said earlier, the apocalypse-level battleship was the most powerful high-tech weapon in the Yang Huang dimension. Yes. Tang Xiao nodded. Indeed, the apocalypse-level battleship represents the most advanced technology in Yang Huang realm. As far as I know, even the 3 large mundane realms who entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone have apocalypse-level battleships as well. It seems that those technologies still can't compare to the peak existences of us cultivators in the mortal planes. Duan Lingtian sighed. Of course. Tang Xiao said matter-of-factly, think about it. Among us cultivators, 3 tribulation bodiless celestials are considered celestials. Eminent celestials who have just ascended to the Devata realms are only as strong as 3 tribulation bodiless celestials. Duan Lingtian nodded. He was aware of this as well. In the mundane realms, 3 tribulation bodiless celestials and above were considered celestials in the Devata realms. If that's the case, technology really shouldn't be underestimated. Duan Lingtian said. We can't underestimate them. In the mundane realms, those who control technology can't be compared to us cultivators. Because of this, whether it's our Yang Huang realm or the other large mundane realms, the most resource-rich galaxies are basically occupied by us cultivators. Let alone the top forces like the Celestial Masters sect and the Heavenly Wave Mansion, even the second-tier forces like the Tang sect can't compete with those who control technology, Tang Xiao said. Duan Lingtian understood Tang Xiao's words. After all, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships one had, it was difficult to kill a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. In the Tang sect, there were 2 8 tribulation bodiless celestials other than the one he had killed. As for 7 tribulation bodiless celestials, according to Tang Xiao, there were at least 10 of them. A force that had 2 8th tribulation loose immortals and more than 10 7th tribulation loose immortals, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships they controlled, could only lower their proud heads in front of the former, which was the overlord of a galaxy ruled by science and technology. 3 months had passed in just a blink of an eye. We've arrived at planet Yang Huang's galaxy. When Tang Xiaoxiao's voice rang in Duan Ling Tian's ears, his heart that was originally calm began to stir. The flaming yellow planet that Tang Xiaoxiao mentioned was his hometown in his previous life, Earth. Was he finally arriving at Earth? We're here. About 15 minutes later, Tang Xiaoxiao pointed ahead and said to Duan Lingtian, "Is that the Milky Way where Earth is located?" At this moment, Duan Lingtian, who had slowed down, saw the galaxy in front of him that looked like a silver waterfall. His heart trembled when he saw the galaxy. Earth meant a lot to him. It was his hometown in his past life. Now that the Milky Way where Earth was located was right in front of him, Duan Lingtian could not help but feel a little homesick. However, the Milky Way is much larger than the other galaxies we've passed by earlier. After a few moments, Duan Lingtian, who had regained his senses, had also noticed this. I've long heard that the galaxy where planet Yang Huang is located is not small. Now that I've seen it, it seems like the rumors are true. However, I can feel the heaven and earth spirit energy has become thin even before we get close to the galaxy where planet Yang Huang is located. It seems like the cultivators on planet Yang Huang have completely absorbed all the heaven and earth spirit energy in this galaxy. That's why the galaxy hasn't recovered yet. Just as Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao were getting closer and closer to the Milky Way, Tang Xiaoxiao's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears again. Whoosh! At this moment, Duan Lingtian accelerated and entered the Milky Way with Tang Xiaoxiao. After entering the Milky Way, the heaven and earth spirit energy became even thinner. Planet Yang Huang is over there. At the same time, Tang Xiaoxiao took out a star map and pointed in a direction to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded and immediately rushed in that direction with Tang Xiaoxiao as fast as he could. Along the way, although they were rushing at full speed, Duan Lingtian was still looking at the stars and planets in the Milky Way with great interest. Some of these planets were barren because they were not suitable for any life forms to live on, some were not suitable for human habitation, so there were all kinds of monsters on them. As for the planets with humans, almost all of them were technological planets. Of course, the technology of these planets was far inferior to the technology of the Kost galaxy. However, compared to the Earth where Duan Lingtian lived in his previous life, the Kost galaxy was thousands of years more advanced. That's the star system where the Earth is located. Not long after, Tang Xiaoxiao looked at the star map and pointed in front of them and said to Duan Lingtian, "The solar system." Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he saw the planet that looked like a huge fireball in the distance. His breathing quickened as well. His chest rose and fell like a bellows that was constantly being pulled by someone. In the distance, around the planet that looked like a fireball, 8 planets surrounded it like stars surrounding the moon, making it look like a high and mighty emperor. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Duan Lingtian's gaze swept past the 7 planets around the sun before it finally landed on the only remaining planet. That planet was the only one among the 9 planets in front of Duan Lingtian, including the sun, that had signs of life. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian's body swayed as he brought Tang Xiaoxiao to a place near the only planet with signs of life. Duan Lingtian stopped when he arrived near the planet. At the same time, he abandoned Tang Xiaoxiao and stared at the planet in front of him in a daze. Apart from the excitement in his eyes, there was also a hint of infatuation in them. What a beautiful planet! Tang Xiaoxiao did not notice Duan Lingtian's strange behavior. Her eyes were completely attracted by the blue planet in front of her. On this planet, most of the areas were seas. This is the planet where the Tang sect originated from, planet Yang Huang? I've only heard that planet Yang Huang is a beautiful planet. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, it really lives up to its name. Tang Xiaoxiao muttered to herself as she stared at the beautiful blue planet in front of her. Earth, I, Lingtian, am back. While Tang Xiaoxiao was muttering to herself, a loud voice suddenly rang in her ears. Moreover, this shout was filled with excitement, causing her to be stunned for a moment. Duan Lingtian? She could tell it was Duan Lingtian's voice. Tang Xiao instinctively turned to look at Duan Lingtian, only to see the afterimage left behind by Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian had already taken the lead and entered the beautiful blue planet ahead of her. Earth. Just now. Did Duan Lingtian call this planet Earth? Isn't this planet Yang Huang? Tang Xiao was taken aback when she recalled Duan Lingtian's words. She did not know how to react. Chapter 25-24. Since Duan Lingtian did not tell Tang Xiao about his past life, Tang Xiao was unaware of the relationship between him and planet Yang Huang. For this reason, Tang Xiao was puzzled when she heard Duan Lingtian calling planet Yang Huang Earth. Tang Xiao couldn't figure out what was going on. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian had already entered Earth in a flash. Earth was only a small planet in the Milky Way, let alone in the boundless starry sky. Just 3 months ago, Duan Lingtian had visited planet Sattel in the Kost galaxy. In terms of size, it was at least 100 times larger than Earth. Since Earth was so small, Duan Lingtian only needed a thought to cover the entire Earth with his divine consciousness. Nothing on Earth could hide from his divine consciousness. Earth has changed so much in just a few decades. When Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness covered the entire Earth, he discovered the changes on Earth. It was completely different from the Earth he remembered from his past life. Earth's technology was not as advanced as some of the planets in the Milky Way. However, compared to the Earth in Duan Lingtian's memory of his past life, Earth's technology had advanced by a few hundred years. It's only been a few decades. How could Earth have changed so much? Duan Lingtian was shocked by the fact that Earth's technology had advanced by a few hundred years in just a few decades. Moreover, the souls of the humans on Earth are as strong as the souls of the people in the Kost galaxy. They're not any weaker than mine. Duan Lingtian scanned the entire Earth with his divine consciousness and deliberately probed the humans with extraordinary auras. He discovered that many of these humans had souls that were as strong as his soul. After all, his soul was at the level of an eminent celestial. It was the limit of the soul of an ordinary human in the mundane realms. As for bodiless celestials, they had surpassed the limits of ordinary humans. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? At some point, Tang Xiao had also entered Earth from space and found Duan Lingtian easily. She and Duan Lingtian were both half-step immortals. Their souls and divine senses were similar. They could easily cover the entire Earth. Therefore, it was not difficult for them to find Duan Lingtian. I remember you once told me that the reason the souls of the people from the Kost galaxy could reach the limits of ordinary people in the mundane realms was because they had taken the gene medicine. Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Xiao and said, "Moreover, you said the potion can only improve their souls to the limit of an ordinary human's soul in the mundane realms. However, they can't extend their divine consciousness through their souls, let alone launch soul attacks." When Duan Lingtian had first met the people of the Kost galaxy in the Kost galaxy, he had discovered that their souls were no weaker than his when he extended his consciousness. Later on, he learned from Tang Xiao that the souls of the people from the Kost galaxy were so strong because they had taken the gene medicine. Moreover, they could not extend their divine consciousness or launch soul attacks. Even so, it was impossible for him to use his soul attack against the people from the Kost galaxy. This was because the souls of the people from the Kost galaxy were no weaker than his soul. Moreover, their defenses were so strong that his soul attack could not hurt them at all. But why are some of the people here so strong as well? Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Xiao with a puzzled expression on his face. Half of the reason why their souls are so strong is because of the gene elixir. However, because the gene elixir they took was too low grade, they needed to break through their body's limits multiple times. They used the method of increasing their willpower to raise their souls to the limit and reach a level comparable to our souls. After Tang Xiao extended her divine consciousness, she quickly discovered the reason why the people on Earth had souls that were as strong as hers and Duan Lingtian's. For this reason, some of them can use their souls to sense things in heaven and earth. For example, they can sense natural elements. When Tang Xiao reached the end of her sentence, her divine consciousness locked onto a certain place on Earth. Over there were 2 people fighting. Following that, Tang Xiao Xiao took out a jade token that was inscribed with dense inscriptions. She inserted her divine consciousness into it before she crushed it. Whoosh! In the next moment, a constantly changing mirror image appeared in front of her. The constantly changing mirror image was the scene that Tang Xiao Xiao had discovered with her divine consciousness. A man and a woman were fighting in a unique way. One of them controlled fire while the other controlled lightning. They seem like Dao cultivators. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. There was something else that he did not say out loud. These two people looked more like the superhumans in the sci-fi movies he had watched in his previous life. They're not Dao cultivators. They're superhumans. Tang Xiao Xiao shook her head when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Generally speaking, superhumans are the products of places with mediocre technology. Due to the mediocre technology, the genetic medicine developed is of a very low level. It can't directly enhance a person's soul to its peak. Just as I said earlier, under such circumstances, anyone who can break through the limits of their body, raise their willpower, and raise their soul to the extreme will be able to use their soul to sense the natural elements in the world, and after perceiving the natural elements between heaven and earth, the person who can control them is a superpower warrior, just like them. Tang Xiao Xiao looked at the two people in the mirror image as she said, "They're superhumans. Why didn't you mention this to me before?" Duan Lingtian was stunned. "I didn't mention this to you because there's no need to." Tang Xiao Xiao shook her head and said, "Unless they're lucky enough to become half-baked cultivators, their achievements will be limited. Let's not talk about cultivators like us. Even an ordinary person in the Cost Galaxy can easily kill the best of the best among the mutants when operating the lowest grade mecha." Upon hearing Tang Xiao Xiao's words, Duan Lingtian understood why she did not mention superhumans. In her eyes, superhumans were as insignificant as ants. She did not think it was necessary to mention them. What happened on Earth in the past few decades? Earth's technology has advanced by hundreds of years in just a few decades. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had too many questions in his mind. Fortunately, my motherland is still around. Almost half of the people on Earth who have reached the peak of their soul are in my motherland, Hua. Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief when he discovered this through his divine consciousness. In his previous life, he was an orphan. He did not know who his parents were, and he did not know if he had any relatives in this world. However, his motherland had nurtured him, and he had devoted all his efforts to his motherland. After becoming the best soldier, he had fought for all kinds of glory for his motherland. Even after he retired from the military, he still secretly protected his motherland. Those who offend my motherland will be punished no matter how far away they are. This was Duan Lingtian's unshakable belief in his previous life. It was still the same even now. It was also because of this belief that he was framed by his manager in his previous life, which led to his death. I wonder if that guy is still alive. If he's still alive, he must be doing well now. Duan Lingtian knew his agent in his previous life very well. He was not someone who was willing to be ordinary and had the ability to make himself extraordinary. In his previous life, his agent had approached him personally. The only reason she was able to gain his trust and become his manager was because she had once saved his life. Even if he did not have his agent's help at that time, he would not have died. He could have escaped successfully at the cost of serious injuries. However, he had always been grateful. Therefore, he had agreed to his agent's request and allowed him to stay by his side. After that, the agent was cautious and conscientious. After a long period of contact, he, who did not have any relatives or friends, regarded him as a brother. However, he did not expect that. In the end, it was this person who he regarded as a brother who betrayed him. "I hope you're still alive." With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness again and began to carefully investigate the people on Earth whose souls had reached the pinnacle. These people were the best among the mutant warriors. The reason why he began to investigate these people was because Duan Lingtian subconsciously thought, since the Earth had changed so much over the past few decades, not to mention why the Earth had undergone such a huge change, based on his understanding of his agent, the other party would definitely not miss this opportunity. He would definitely use his keen sense of smell to seek the greatest benefits for himself. Sure enough, he's there. Originally, Duan Lingtian was still guessing whether his agent in his previous life would be among the hundreds of elite mutant warriors on Earth whose souls had reached the pinnacle. He did not expect that his agent really was there. Under the careful investigation of his divine consciousness, he found his agent in his previous life among the hundreds of elite mutant warriors. Decades had passed, but the agent's appearance had not changed at all. He still looked so young. Duan Lingtian was not surprised by this. With the current technology on Earth, some genetic agents were enough to keep people young. Of course, this was only limited to the appearance of youth. With the current technology on Earth, the aging of internal organs could only be moderately delayed. It's good that you're not dead. I was really worried that you were dead. Chapter 25-25. Ever since Duan Lingtian was betrayed by his agent in his previous life, his soul had traveled to the Saint Province realm. Although Duan Lingtian hated his agent from the bottom of his heart and wished he could tear him to pieces, he did not do so. At that time, he did not think he would have a chance to return to Earth. Later on, he met the pagoda spirit of the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda, the three-legged golden crow, Hualao. However, the conditions for returning to Earth were too harsh, and it would take a long time. It would take him hundreds or even thousands of years to return to Earth. At that time, would his agent still be alive? The answer was no. Because of this, even at that time, he could only think about taking revenge on his manager from his previous life, knowing full well that it was unrealistic. Under such circumstances, the manager in his previous life would naturally not become his obsession. However, ever since he entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone, he had learned that it was not difficult for him to return to Earth. Moreover, it had only been a few decades since his death in his previous life. Therefore, it was highly likely that his manager was still alive. For this reason, Duan Lingtian's dead heart was revived. Killing his manager to avenge his previous life had unknowingly become an obsession in the depths of his heart. That obsession was like a seed that was planted deep within Duan Lingtian's heart, and it gradually took root and sprouted. Even Duan Lingtian did not notice this at first. It was not until Yun Qingyang appeared and threatened Ke with his family and friends that Yun Qingyang forced her to leave him. At that time, Duan Lingtian wanted to improve his strength as much as possible. However, in the end, he discovered that his agent in his previous life had killed his agent. The hatred for his manager in his previous life had taken root in the depths of his heart, and it had become the biggest obstacle for him to improve his strength. He discovered it was getting harder and harder for him to comprehend the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. In the end, he could no longer improve his strength. It was not that he had reached a bottleneck, but it was because of his obsession. So, under these circumstances, even though Ke and his friends were forced to leave, he was filled with unwillingness and pain. He could only temporarily bury the unwillingness and pain in the depths of his heart, and he didn't dare rashly touch it. Because with his current strength, even if he wanted to save Ke, his family, and his friends, he was powerless. The only thing he could do now was to wait for the Celestial Ascension Force to lead him to the Devata realm. Only after he arrived at the Devata realm would he be able to find out where the divine offering land was that Ke had mentioned to him before she left. Before he ascended, what he had to do was to improve his strength as much as possible. However, if he wanted to further increase his strength, the obsession that stemmed from the vengeance of his manager in his previous life had also become a huge obstacle in his path of increasing his strength. If he wanted to increase his strength, he would first have to get rid of that obsession. For this reason, he left the Saint Province realm and returned to Earth in the Yang Huang realm. If his manager in his previous life had not died, his obsession would not have disappeared even after he ascended to the Devata realm. He would instinctively think that he had not gotten rid of his manager before he ascended to the Devata realm. That would be a devastating blow to his cultivation in the future. For this reason, he had to get rid of his manager before he ascended to the Devata realm and completely get rid of the obsession in his heart. "You seem to be living a good life now," Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness locked onto his manager in his previous life. Duan Lingtian's manager was lying on a luxurious beach chair in the sky garden of a luxurious cruise ship, enjoying the sea breeze. There were 3 sexy beauties in bikinis on either side of him. Two of the beauties were massaging his legs, one on his left and one on his right. There was also a beauty who was constantly feeding him grapes that had been peeled. The three beauties were of different nationalities. One had blonde hair, one had brown hair, and one had black hair. However, since I'm back, your good days are over. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed coldly as he disappeared into thin air. Tang Xiao Xiao, who was standing at the side, did not know how to react. This guy. Where did he go this time? Tang Xiao Xiao was stunned. Ever since she came to Yang Huang, she had a feeling Duan Lingtian was strange. However, she could not pinpoint what was strange about him. On Earth, there were still a few big countries, including Hua, that ruled the world. However, in addition to Hua, the other big countries were more or less infiltrated by a powerful superpower warrior organization called the Devil's Hand. Hua was the only country that was completely independent. It seemed like it was about to become the strongest country in the world. All of this was because China had a deep foundation and followed the trend of history during the Nirvana change a few decades ago. A large number of outstanding Esper warriors had risen, and those Esper warriors were all taken in by the Chinese government, causing China's strength to soar. Currently, there were two major organizations of super warriors on Earth. One of the organizations was the Soul of Yang Huang, whose mission was to protect Hua. The other organization was the Devil's Hand, which was independent of the big countries on Earth. Most of the members of the Soul of Yang Huang were from Hua. However, there were very few Hua members in the Devil's Hand. Most of them came from other countries. Only a few people knew that the leader of the Devil's Hand was a purebred Hua man. Currently, Duwei, the leader of the Devil's Hand, was enjoying a vacation on a luxurious private cruise ship. Beside him, there were three hot beauties from different countries circling around him. These three beauties were all carefully selected by his subordinates before they were presented to him. Master, I heard that you almost defeated Long Zhenguo, the leader of the Soul of Yang Huang, a month ago. A blonde beauty with a hot body in a bikini put the peeled grapes in her hand into the mouth of Duwei, the leader of the Devil's Hand, who was lying on a luxurious beach chair. She smiled and asked Duwei in fluent Chinese. Smack. Duwei raised his hand and slapped the blonde beauty's butt. Under the blonde beauty's rebuking gaze, he said, "You're pretty well informed." That's right. A month ago, when I fought Long Zhenguo, I almost defeated him. However, Duwei paused for a moment. Before his eyes shone brightly. Give me 1 more year and I'll definitely be able to defeat Long Zhenguo. 1 year. At most, I'll need 1 more year for my form and will fist to produce inner energy. I'll become a form and will fist Grandmaster. As he spoke, Duwei's tone became a little hurried. It was obvious that he was very excited. Master, I heard that you're able to stand out among the super warriors because of the form and will fist. May I know where you learned the form and will fist? As far as I know, the Xingyi fist that is being passed down in the world is incomplete. The black-haired beauty who was massaging Du Wei's left leg looked at Du Wei and asked, Master, according to what you said, your form and will fist can even give birth to inner energy. According to rumors, only the complete form and will fist can give birth to inner energy and step into the Grandmaster stage. Girl, you're quite knowledgeable. Du Wei looked at the black-haired beauty deeply before he said slowly, That's right. I've cultivated the complete form and will fist. I'm afraid I'm the only one on Earth who has mastered the complete form and will fist Grandmaster. A proud expression appeared on Du Wei's face when he reached the end of his sentence. When the Nirvana change happened on Earth, he seized the opportunity and became one of the first people to consume the gene reagent. Then, with the help of the form and will fist manual, he broke through the limits of his body and transformed his soul many times. That was how he became one of the top super warriors. He was one of the first people to become one of the top super warriors. In addition, he practiced the form and will fist. Therefore, his strength was considered to be one of the most outstanding among the group of ability users who rose to prominence later on. Initially, he had planned to make a name for himself in Hua. However, at that time, there was someone in Hua Nation who could stand up to him as an equal. That person was none other than Long Zhenguo. Long Zhenguo was from the Long family, an ancient martial arts family in Hua. He was also the leader of a secret department in Hua. After Long Zhenghua became one of the top superpowered warriors, he began to recruit superpowered warriors on a large scale and formed the Soul of Yang Huang, a superpowered warrior organization, to serve the country. As the saying went, there can't be two tigers on one mountain. Under such circumstances, Du Wei, who was not willing to submit to others and was full of ambition, left China and made a name for himself outside the country. He even established the superpower organization, the Devil's Hand. Later on, he established the Devil's Hand, which became the only superpower warrior organization on Earth that could compete with the Soul of Yang Huang. Master, where did you learn the form and will fist Grandmaster? The black-haired beauty asked again. She was clearly filled with curiosity towards this matter. I learned it from a manual. As for the manual, it was left behind by an unlucky person. Du Wei replied nonchalantly. Unlucky person? However, Du Wei did not notice that there was a person hovering in the air above the cruise ship with an angry expression on his face. This person was none other than Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian was here because he was a famous celebrity. His manager from his previous life was on the cruise ship he was standing on. Chapter 25-26. In Duan Lingtian's previous life, his manager, Du Wei, was like a brother to him. For this reason, when Duan Lingtian heard Du Wei wanted to cultivate the form and will fist, he personally taught Du Wei. When he saw that Du Wei did not have the patience to cultivate the form and will fist, he drew a manual of the form and will fist and gave it to Du Wei. When Duan Lingtian died in his previous life, Du Wei's mastery of the form and will fist was only at the entry level. However, he did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so powerful. After a few decades, Du Wei had not only become a top superpower warrior, but he also seemed to have a place for himself on Earth with the help of the Xingyi fist manual he had left behind. Is the leader of the Soul of Yang Huang, Long Zhenghua, who he mentioned? Is he Instructor Long? In Duan Lingtian's previous life, the person he was closest to was his manager, Du Wei, whom he treated like a brother. However, the person he respected the most was none other than his instructor from his previous life, Long Zhenghua. It could be said that Long Zhenghua was the one who had trained him to become an elite soldier. Even after he retired, his strength had surpassed Long Zhenghua, and he had never seen Long Zhenghua again. However, in his heart, he still respected Long Zhenghua. The Soul of Yang Huang? Duan Lingtian had never heard of the existence of this organization in his previous life. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to appear in front of Du Wei and meet his manager, who he treated like a brother, the people on the cruise ship stopped him. The words from the luxurious cruise ship below made him pause for a moment, and he was not in a hurry to show himself. Master, can you tell us, who is that unlucky bastard? The brown-haired beauty who had remained silent all this while could not help but look at Du Wei curiously. The two beauties turned to look at Du Wei as well. Master, I also want to know who the unlucky bastard is. Master, please tell us. Just as the blonde and black-haired beauties were about to speak, Dewey picked up a limited edition cigar. After the blonde woman lit it for him, he took a puff and said, I'm sorry, Dewey, but I don't know what to do. He took a puff and said, the unlucky bastard was publicly acknowledged as the strongest person in the underground world a few decades ago. Du Wei replied, Number 1 in the Earth's underground world. Hearing Du Wei's words, the three beauties couldn't help but be frightened. Even though they hadn't been born at that time. However, the Nirvana change didn't seem to have happened on Earth a few decades ago, right? Before that, the level of science and technology on Earth was several hundred years behind what it was now. At that time, there weren't any superpowered warriors. Even the most basic form of transportation, flying cars, didn't exist. To be able to be recognized as the number 1 person in Earth's underground world during that era, one could only imagine how terrifying that person was. But now, Dewey said that person was an unlucky bastard. Master, are you talking about the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian? At this time, the black-haired beauty seemed to have thought of something and asked, You've heard of him? Du Wei narrowed his eyes and looked at the black-haired beauty. For a moment, the latter was so shocked that his face turned pale. Then, he said timidly, I heard my uncle mention him before. My uncle used to be a mercenary. He greatly respects the mercenary king, Ling Tian, from a few decades ago. The king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian, who had been hovering in the air above the luxurious cruise ship, couldn't help but fall into a daze when he heard the black-haired beauty's words. The king of mercenaries. It had been a very long time since he had heard this familiar yet distant form of address. Ling Tian. The person she's talking about has the same name as you. When Duan Ling Tian's eyes were blurred and he could not help but recall the events of his past life, a voice resonated in his ears. It shocked him so much that he instantly regained his senses. Why are you here? At this time, Duan Ling Tian discovered Tang Xiao Xiao had come looking for him again. You don't seem to be in a good mood, so I came to have a look, Tang Xiao Xiao said. Earlier, when that woman mentioned the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, you seemed to be in a daze. You didn't even notice me when I approached you. Tang Xiao Xiao could not help but stare at Duan Ling Tian intently when she reached the end of her sentence. Naturally, Tang Xiao Xiao knew this was not the case. Apart from being in a daze, the reason Duan Ling Tian did not notice her presence was because she did not exude any hostility. Otherwise, with Duan Ling Tian's senses, it was impossible for him not to notice her presence. At the same time, Tang Xiao Xiao also noticed something was amiss when Duan Ling Tian was in a daze. However, even if she noticed something was amiss, she would never have thought it was Duan Ling Tian. In fact, the Duan Ling Tian standing in front of her was the strongest person in the underground world, the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian. If I told you the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, is me, would you believe me? Duan Ling Tian asked as he looked at Tang Xiao Xiao indifferently. It's you. Tang Xiao Xiao was dumbfounded when she heard Duan Ling Tian's words. She instinctively thought Duan Ling Tian was joking. However, when she saw Duan Ling Tian's solemn expression, based on her understanding of Duan Ling Tian after spending time with him during this period of time, she could tell that Duan Ling Tian's expression had changed. Duan Ling Tian did not seem to be lying. However, if this was true, it would be ridiculous. An ordinary person from planet Yang Huang a few decades ago had become an eminent celestial after a few decades. Moreover, he was an eminent celestial whose strength was comparable to a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. Moreover, he was not an eminent celestial from planet Yang Huang. He was an eminent celestial from the Saint Province realm. Tang Xiao Xiao was still in a daze when Duan Ling Tian shifted his attention back to the luxurious cruise ship. That's right. The unlucky person I mentioned is the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian said as he took a deep breath. Faced with the curious gazes of the three beauties, Du Wei blew out a puff of smoke and said unhurriedly, at that time, I was Ling Tian's manager. As soon as Du Wei said this, the three beauties beside him were dumbfounded. Naturally, they knew very well who Duan Ling Tian was. He was the leader of the Devil's Hand, one of the two strongest super-soldier organizations on Earth. Even the leaders of major countries would have to lower their heads in front of him. It could be said that he was one of the strongest men on Earth. However, Duan Ling Tian had just said that he was an eminent celestial. Duan Ling Tian was the manager of the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, a few decades ago. I've never mentioned this to anyone in the past few decades. Since all of you are curious, I'll tell you about it, Duan Ling Tian said nonchalantly. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Speaking of that unlucky person, Ling Tian, in the beginning, I wanted to be his manager because of the benefits he could bring me. However, since he's used to being alone and doesn't trust anyone, it's difficult for me to get close to him. Who do you think I am? How can I not help him? Duan Ling Tian's expression turned even more unsightly when he heard Duan Ling Tian's words. As it turned out, Duan Ling Tian had been saved by Duan Ling Tian all those years ago. To think he was so grateful to Duan Ling Tian for allowing Duan Ling Tian to be his manager. As it turned out, he had been tricked by Duan Ling Tian from the beginning. Is he really that Ling Tian? Tang Xiao Xiao had also heard Duan Ling Tian's words. At the same time, she noticed the change in Duan Ling Tian's expression. She could see Duan Ling Tian's expression was extremely unsightly at this moment. At the same time, Tang Xiao Xiao learned from Duan Ling Tian that Ling Tian had been tricked by Duan Ling Tian and was killed by him. He's dead. That Ling Tian died a few decades ago. Tang Xiao Xiao was stunned. Meanwhile, on the luxurious cruise ship, the faces of the three sexy beauties in bikinis turned pale when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Their eyes were filled with dread when they looked at Duan Lingtian again. Du Wei had betrayed Ling Tian, the king of mercenaries, who regarded him as a brother, and caused Ling Tian's death. They despised Duan Lingtian's actions from the bottom of their hearts. Although they despised Duan Lingtian's actions, they did not dare to show their disdain. Speaking of which, if that Ling Tian was still alive, with his mastery of the form and will fist, he could easily become the #1 person on Earth. Unfortunately, he didn't have the destiny to become the strongest person on Earth. Although he was also recognized as the most powerful person on Earth during that era in the underground world, on the surface, he would have died without a doubt if any large country had mobilized its army to surround and annihilate him at all cost. Unlike me now, even if those superpowers mobilized their army at all costs, they wouldn't be able to kill me. A confident expression appeared on Duan Lingtian's face when he finished speaking. I've always kept what happened a few decades ago to myself, and I've never mentioned it to anyone. Now that I've told all of you about it, it feels good. Duan Lingtian glanced at the three beauties next to him indifferently before he continued to say, however, I don't intend to let more people know about it. After all, it would damage my reputation. So, in order to keep the past a secret, the three of you will have to pay the price for your curiosity. Killing intent flashed in Duan Lingtian's eyes when he finished speaking. Master, we won't tell anyone about this. When the three beauties sensed Duan Lingtian's killing intent, their expressions changed as they hastily begged for mercy. I only believe in the dead. Duan Lingtian smiled. Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold as he prepared to kill the three beauties. At this moment, an indifferent voice rang in the air. Chapter 25-27. Since you dare to do it, why are you afraid of what others say? This sudden voice that came from the sky caused Du Wei, who was about to attack the three women beside him, to stop. At the same time, he stood up from the recliner. At the same time, Du Wei abruptly raised his head to look at the sky, and his expression changed. His expression changed drastically as he cried out, "Who's that?" At the same time, he could not help but reveal waves of fear in the depths of his eyes. He did not know who the owner of the voice was. However, since the person was able to appear in the sky above the cruise ship without him noticing, it meant the person had some tricks up his sleeve. It's me. As soon as Du Wei raised his head to look at the sky above the cruise ship, the voice rang in his ears again. However, this time, the voice did not come from the sky. Instead, it came from the front of him. Suddenly, Du Wei's body trembled. He shivered and lowered his head slightly. As soon as he lowered his head, he saw a purple figure standing 3 meters in front of him. It was a young man dressed in a long purple robe. His retro-styled outfit seemed out of place with the modern beach pants he was wearing and the bikinis on the three women beside him. Even the luxurious cruise ship they were on did not match his outfit at all. He's an actor. When the three women beside Du Wei heard the voice, they instinctively raised their heads to look at the sky as well. Now, they followed Du Wei's gaze and looked at the purple-clothed youth standing 3 meters away from him. They couldn't help but be stunned. They even thought the young man who was so handsome that they could not take their eyes off him was acting in a historical drama. At this moment, they seemed to have forgotten that they were on the cruise ship. The place where they were now was Dewey's private luxury cruise ship, so it was impossible for anyone to appear here. Who are you? Du Wei was a supernatural warrior who stood at the top of the food chain on Earth. He was also the leader of the Devil's Hand, one of the 2 major supernatural warrior organizations on Earth. For this reason, he quickly regained his senses and looked at the purple-clad young man in front of him warily. The purple-clad young man in the retro-styled outfit gave him a very uncomfortable feeling. Even when facing the leader of the soul of Yang Huang, the other party had never given him such a feeling. How did he appear here? He was still talking in the sky earlier, and in just a blink of an eye, he's already in front of me. Isn't this speed too fast? Looking at the purple-clothed young man, Du Wei couldn't help but panic. The other party's speed was too fast, and he couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Duan Lingtian stood 3 meters away from Du Wei. After uttering Du Wei's name, he stared at Du Wei coldly. Seeing this, Du Wei felt a burst of fear in his heart, but he didn't dare to act rashly. The purple-clothed youth before him gave him an extremely dangerous feeling. Ever since he had obtained his current strength and status, this was the first time someone had given him such a feeling. Even if he didn't want to believe it, he had to be cautious. Therefore, he did not dare to act rashly. Just when Duan Lingtian was staring at him like that, Duan Lingtian thought that he should test Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! Suddenly, the faint sound of wind whistling entered Duwei's ears. Then, he stared at the purple-clad young man in front of him with widened eyes. A figure had appeared out of thin air. This was a woman dressed in black. Her black clothes were also very retro. Her peerless appearance set off a temperament that seemed to be able to overshadow everything, causing her to not look like a person from Earth at all. She looked more like a peerless beauty from ancient times. The black-clad woman was none other than Tang Xiao Xiao. She had followed Duan Lingtian to the luxurious cruise ship as soon as she regained her senses. As soon as Tang Xiao Xiao appeared, the three beauties in bikinis next to Du Wei paled in comparison. Even the three beauties in bikinis felt ashamed of their inferiority when they saw Tang Xiao Xiao's beautiful face. How beautiful! There's such a classic beauty on Earth. Heavens! Who the hell is she? She's so beautiful. Everyone has a love for beauty. Although the three beauties in bikinis were also women, they were captivated by Tang Xiao Xiao's peerless appearance. It was as though they had lost their souls when they looked at Tang Xiao Xiao. The three beauties in bikinis were already so beautiful, let alone Du Wei. Ever since Du Wei obtained his current strength and status, he had been enjoying the most luxurious life, and he was not unhappy at all. This could be seen from the fact that he always brought three beauties with him when he went out to sea or went on vacation. Although he had many women with him over the years, none of them could compare to the black-clad woman who had just appeared in front of him. Not only did the black-clad woman have a peerless appearance, but her figure was also much better than the three beauties in bikinis next to him. Although the black-clad woman's clothes were slightly loose, it could not hide her alluring figure. If you dare to look at me again, I'll blind your eyes. Just as Du Wei's attention was completely drawn to Tang Xiao Xiao, Tang Xiao Xiao suddenly furrowed her brows and shouted coldly. Her voice contained some soul-level deterrence. Although Du Wei's soul was not inferior to Tang Xiao Xiao's soul, which was comparable to that of an eminent celestial. However, half of Du Wei's soul had been strengthened by the gene potion. For this reason, he was caught off guard by Tang Xiao Xiao's soul intimidation, causing his soul to tremble. His expression changed drastically. Du Wei's expression changed drastically when he regained his senses. A hint of dread could be seen in his eyes when he looked at Tang Xiao Xiao again. A top-tier spiritual-type super soldier? At this moment, Du Wei only thought Tang Xiao Xiao was a super soldier who specialized in spiritual interference. Moreover, since she was able to interfere with his spiritual interference, it meant she was at least a top-tier super soldier like him. When he thought about this, he sighed in relief. With his mastery of the form and will fist, apart from Longzhen Guo, the leader of the soul of Yang Huang, no other top-tier super soldier on Earth could withstand more than 100 moves from him. However, how did she appear earlier? It was as though she appeared out of thin air. Du Wei, who had just heaved a sigh of relief, couldn't help but feel a sense of dread when he recalled the scene of the woman in black appearing before him. He had never seen a top-tier super soldier capable of such a feat, not even he could do it. It seems like you don't take my words seriously. Just as Du Wei was feeling fearful, he noticed that the woman in black was looking at him with a cold glint in her eyes. This is bad. Du Wei's heart skipped a beat when he heard the hostility in the black-clad woman's voice. An ominous feeling rose in his heart when he saw the black-clad woman's eyes. As soon as the ominous feeling rose in his heart, whoosh, a gust of wind swept toward him. In just a blink of an eye, Du Wei discovered the black-clad woman who was 3 meters away from him had appeared in front of him as though she had teleported. Before he could react, she raised her hand and slapped his left eye. At the moment the woman raised her hand, he could faintly see a sharp needle that shone with a cold light between her index finger and middle finger. Before Du Wei could react, he felt a sharp pain in his left eye. He could not help but let out a heart-wrenching scream. In the next moment, he discovered his left eye was completely dark. He was blinded. Oh my God! The three bikini beauties screamed in unison. They were completely dumbfounded by the bloody scene in front of them. Duwei's left eye was dripping with blood. Half of his face was stained with blood as well. He looked ferocious and terrifying. After all, this was the leader of the Devil's Hand. Today, he was in such a sorry state in front of a woman. It was as though he was powerless to fight back. At the same time, they could not help but look at the black-clad woman who had teleported back to the purple-clad young man. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. They could not figure it out at all. How could this woman, who looked as weak as them, have such terrifying strength? If they had such strength, how could they be enslaved by Duwei? Why you? Who are you? At this moment, Duwei was no longer the manager of the King of Mercenaries. As the leader of the Devil's Hand, it did not take long for him to treat the injury in his left eye. He suppressed his anger and looked at the ground as he asked fearfully. If he still could not figure out how terrifying the black-clad woman was, he would not be fit to be the leader of the Devil's Hand. For this reason, he no longer dared to look at the black-clad woman. He was afraid the black-clad woman would destroy his right eye in a fit of rage. Are you really the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian, who was betrayed and killed by him a few decades ago? Tang Xiao ignored Du Wei's question. Instead, she looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked curiously, "What's the matter?" She could not figure it out. How could an eminent celestial from the Saint Province realm whose strength was comparable to a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial be related to an ordinary person who was killed decades ago on planet Yanghuang? Although both of them were called Ling Tian, this was simply ridiculous. But this was too ridiculous, wasn't it? Yes. Duan Ling Tian replied indifferently. He did not look away from Du Wei when he heard Tang Xiao's question. Du Wei was dumbfounded when he heard Tang Xiao's question about Duan Ling Tian. The King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian, from decades ago. Chapter 25-28. Du Wei clearly remembered what had happened that year. He had been standing behind the group of gunmen when Ling Tian, the King of Mercenaries, was shot to death. He had even witnessed how Ling Tian's body was disposed of. At this moment, someone had said, "Du Wei, the King of Mercenaries?" The mercenary Ling Tian from back then was still alive. Naturally, he did not believe it. Although he did not believe it, he could not help but look at the purple-clad young man who had responded to the black-clad woman's question. It was none other than the purple-clad young man who had admitted he was the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian, from a few decades ago. They're two completely different people. With just a glance, he was certain the purple-clad young man before him was a completely different person from the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian. What? Based on your gaze, you don't believe I'm the same Ling Tian who was betrayed by you and treated you as a brother? When Du Wei looked at Duan Ling Tian, who had never taken his eyes off Du Wei, naturally, noticed Du Wei's disdainful gaze. For this reason, he could not help but speak up. "Although I don't know who you are, this joke isn't funny at all," Du Wei said disapprovingly as he looked at Duan Ling Tian. Du Wei looked at Duan Ling Tian and said, "You're right. Joke." Duan Ling Tian was slightly taken aback when he heard Du Wei's words. His gaze turned colder when he looked at Du Wei. "I remember the cannon fist was the first technique I taught you about the form will fist. I remember my signature is on the top left corner of the last page when I drew the form will fist manual for you. I remember." Duan Ling Tian looked at Du Wei coldly as he continued to speak. It was as though he was very familiar with the matter. Only he and Du Wei knew about it. When Duan Ling Tian said the second sentence, Du Wei's face changed. As for the things that Duan Ling Tian said one after another, every single one of them was only known to him and that mercenary King Ling Tian from a few decades ago. Gradually, the way Du Wei looked at Duan Ling Tian changed completely. It was as if he had seen a ghost. "No! Impossible! Impossible!" Du Wei cried out in disbelief when he heard Duan Ling Tian's words, interrupting Duan Ling Tian. After being interrupted, Duan Ling Tian didn't continue. Because he knew Du Wei had confirmed that he was the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian, from several decades ago. "You were clearly dead. I saw it with my own eyes. How could you not be dead? How is that possible? At this moment, Juwei was like a madman. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't figure it out. How could someone who died several decades ago come back to life just like that? Moreover, there had been no news of him for several decades. Heavens! Don't tell me he's really the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian. Ling Tian is so handsome. The three bikini-clad beauties had been stealing glances at Du and Ling Tian since the beginning. Now that Juwei had confirmed that the purple-clad young man was the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, their eyes lit up. At this moment, they thought Juwei was mistaken about Ling Tian not being dead. However, only Juwei knew that he was absolutely not mistaken. After all, he had personally witnessed Ling Tian being killed and Ling Tian's corpse being disposed of. It was impossible for Ling Tian to be alive. However, the purple-clad young man in front of him had revealed a series of things that only he and Ling Tian knew. This proved that the purple-clad young man was indeed Ling Tian. Nothing's impossible. Du and Ling Tian said nonchalantly. You. How did you manage to survive? Although Juwei was unwilling to accept this, he had no choice but to accept this fact. After listening to the purple-clad young man's explanation, he was 100% certain that Ling Tian was the king of mercenaries. The purple-clad young man in front of him was indeed the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian. How I managed to survive has nothing to do with you. However, I'm curious. How did the Earth change so much in just a few decades? Earth's technology is at least a few hundred years more advanced than it was a few decades ago. Du and Ling Tian was not afraid Juwei would run away. For this reason, he was not in a hurry to kill Juwei. Moreover, Juwei had killed him in his previous life. He was absolutely irreconcilable with Juwei. However, if he killed Juwei, he would not be able to vent his anger. He wanted Juwei to feel despair so he could kill Juwei when Juwei was on the verge of breaking down. Seeing that Ling Tian, who had changed his appearance for some unknown reason, did not have the intention to kill him for revenge, Ling Tian thought to himself. For this reason, Juwei could not help but heave a sigh of relief. He did not know how strong Ling Tian was at the moment. However, he knew he was no match for the black-clad woman next to Ling Tian, let alone the black-clad woman next to Ling Tian. Not long after I thought you were dead, due to his fear of the black-clad woman next to Ling Tian, Juwei did not dare to be negligent when faced with Ling Tian's question. He quickly told Ling Tian everything that had happened on Earth in the past 30 years. Du and Ling Tian learned from Juwei that Du and Ling Tian had been through a lot. As it turned out, not long after he was betrayed and killed by Juwei, a major event had happened on Earth. A spaceship from a technological planet in the Milky Way had arrived on Earth. The people who came down from the spaceship brought a technological civilization to Earth that was hundreds of years ahead of Earth's current technology. After leaving Earth with a technological civilization that was several hundred years ahead of its time, the spaceship left Earth again. It came and went without a trace, as if it had never appeared. If it were not for the fact that the technological civilization left behind by the people on the spaceship did not lie, the people on Earth might have thought it was a dream. In the next few years, because the spaceship was a technological civilization that spread widely across the Earth also experienced a drastic change because of that advanced technological civilization. Many people died, but many people also became successful. Since then, Earth had undergone earth-shattering changes. It was known as the Nirvana change. During that time, Juwei seized the opportunity and used the Form and Will Fist manual that Du and Ling Tian had left him to further master the Form and Will Fist. He became one of the first top mutant soldiers. He even established the Devil's Hand and dominated the area. The Devil's Hand. Even the superpowers in the world are afraid of this organization. Apart from China, there are members of the Devil's Hand in the leadership of every superpower. When Du and Ling Tian heard this, he could not help but feel shocked. Naturally, he knew what this meant. This meant that his agent in his previous life now stood at the top of the food chain on Earth. Even the leaders of superpowers had to be respectful when they saw him. You're doing pretty well. Du and Ling Tian looked at Juwei and smiled coldly. It's all thanks to the Form and Will Fist manual you left me. When Juwei heard Du and Ling Tian's cold smile, he felt a chill run down his spine. However, he still forced himself to smile. It would have been better if Juwei had not mentioned this. However, as soon as he mentioned this, Duan Lingtian could not control his emotions. He did not expect that after Du Wei betrayed him and caused his death, Du Wei actually relied on the form and will fist manual that he left behind to obtain such a lofty and honorable position on earth. He could imagine this: if he did not return, Du Wei would have to spend the rest of his life in peace. I want to know. Why did you betray me back then? Duan Lingtian changed the topic after he learned the reason behind the changes on earth. He stared at Du Wei coldly as he said, Brother Du Wei, you're right. In the past, he regarded Du Wei as a friend because Du Wei had saved his life. After many years of interaction, he regarded Du Wei as a brother. Don't tell me. In your heart, I'm just a tool for you to make money. Duan Lingtian's voice turned colder when he asked this question. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Du Wei fell silent again. At this moment, he was clear that even if he said no in order to curry favor with Lingtian, it would be useless. After all, based on the fact that he betrayed Lingtian, it was clear that he did not regard Lingtian as a friend, let alone a brother. It seems like you've admitted it. Upon seeing Du Wei's silence, Duan Lingtian's eyes gleamed coldly. Killing intent surged out of his body. As soon as the killing intent spread out, it shrouded Du Wei's body. Du Wei's expression changed. Initially, I wanted to torture you slowly and let you die in despair. Duan Lingtian said coldly, however, I've changed my mind. You can't kill me. Before Duan Lingtian could continue, Du Wei said with a ferocious smile on his face, Lingtian, although I don't know why you're still alive and why you have a woman who's not any weaker than me by your side. However, I want to tell you that even if you're not any weaker than this woman, you can forget about killing me. Even if I'm not as strong as all of you, my foundation on earth is not something all of you can compare to. Du Wei said arrogantly, if you dare to kill me today, my people will detonate the super nuclear bombs that the devil's hand has hidden all over the earth. At that time, the entire earth will be destroyed. Originally, I was going to leave this trump card for those aliens who might come back at any time from the Milky Way and bring Earth hundreds of years of advanced technology and civilization. Chapter 25-29. Whoosh. Duan Lingtian's expression changed slightly when he heard Duan Wei's words. Naturally, Duan Lingtian's expression changed not because he was afraid of the super nuclear bombs that could be detonated at any time. Those super nuclear bombs might be able to destroy the entire Earth. However, even if the Earth was destroyed, he would not be harmed at all. What a lunatic. Duan Lingtian's expression changed because he thought Duan Wei was a lunatic. He had tied his life to the lives of all the people on Earth. If he died, it would not take long before his subordinates detonated the super nuclear bombs all over the Earth. At that time, the Earth would be destroyed, and all the living beings on Earth would not be able to escape death. Duan Lingtian knew Duan Wei was not a simple person. However, he did not expect Duan Wei to have such a trump card after obtaining such a high status on Earth. What a lunatic. Upon seeing the change in Duan Lingtian's expression, Duan Wei naturally thought Duan Lingtian was afraid of the super nuclear bombs that were hidden all over the Earth. He could not help but smile coldly. Perhaps. However, I only did that to protect myself. Back then, the aliens from the Milky Way brought hundreds of years of advanced civilization to Earth. In the eyes of most people on Earth, they were selflessly contributing to Earth, and after they were done, they returned to their planet. However, in my opinion, they must have some ulterior motive. Otherwise, why would they be so kind? A living Lei Feng? In fact, I feel that they may be treating us Earthlings like pigs and waiting for us to fatten ourselves up before they come and slaughter us. I can order my subordinates to detonate the super nuclear bombs at a critical moment. The people who control the detonation devices are all brainwashed by me since they were young. They won't even bat an eyelid if I order them to die. Duan Wei said. Super nuclear bombs? Are they all over the Earth? Once they're detonated, the entire Earth will be destroyed. No. I don't want to die. When the three bikini beauties beside Juwei heard Juwei mention the super nuclear bomb, their expressions completely changed. They fell into shock and panic and didn't recover for a long time. Now that they had regained their senses, there was only panic on their faces. However, I never thought that you, Ling Tian, would actually be able to come back from the dead and have such a powerful woman by your side. Due looked at Du and Ling Tian and lightly said, but so what if the woman beside you is stronger than me? Do you think you can kill me? Unless you're willing to let yourself, the woman beside you, and even the people on earth die with me. Of course, you can also choose not to believe me and kill me. When he reached the end of his sentence, a playful look appeared on his face. When he looked at Du and Ling Tian again, his eyes were filled with confidence, as if victory was already in his grasp. With your character, it's not surprising for you to have such a backup plan. At this time, Du and Ling Tian's expression had returned to normal. However, his eyes were still cold as he looked at Du and Wei. However, do you really think I'll die if the Earth is destroyed? Don't tell me you want to tell me that you'll survive if the Earth is destroyed. Du Wei sneered and said, although my people will detonate the super nuclear bombs all over the Earth 1 month after I'm killed, you have 1 month to find a way to survive. Unfortunately, the technology left behind by the aliens from other planets in the Milky Way didn't have any space navigation technology. Even the space navigation technology on Earth was mysteriously damaged not long after they arrived. What's even stranger is that all the aeronautical scientists on Earth who have mastered important knowledge in this area have either disappeared or gone mad overnight. At this point, Dewey paused. Upon hearing Due's words, Du and Ling Tian could not help but frown. If what Due said was true, then the aliens who came to Earth in the past and brought hundreds of years of advanced technology to Earth did not come with good intentions. By doing this, they were imprisoning the Earthlings and preventing them from leaving Earth to travel into space. Didn't anyone suspect this? Du and Ling Tian asked in a deep voice. Of course some people are suspicious. At that time, some people questioned the aliens. However, the aliens said it was for the good of the Earthlings. After all, the Earthlings would be in great danger if they left the solar system. When the time was right, they would come to Earth again and bring back space navigation technology. At this point, a mocking smile appeared on Dewey's face. What's laughable is that most Earthlings believe the nonsense of those Earthlings. There were many people who didn't believe it. However, what could they do in the face of a group of mysterious aliens? Speaking of which, a hint of fear flashed in Due's eyes. He was afraid of those aliens of unknown origin. So, you planted a large number of super-nuclear bombs all over the Earth. When the aliens came to Earth and wanted to fulfill their ambitions, you planned to use the super-nuclear bombs to threaten them and negotiate with them? Du and Ling Tian asked indifferently as he narrowed his eyes and looked at Du Wei. Naturally, he did not think Due planted super-nuclear bombs all over the Earth to save the Earthlings. After all, he only wanted to save himself. That's right. Due replied to Du and Ling Tian's question. Since the aliens went to great lengths to imprison the Earthlings, they must have something in mind. As long as I threaten them with the entire Earth, it won't be difficult to obtain benefits from them. Perhaps, when the aliens come again, I'll be able to obtain a gene agent that can prolong my life. I might even be able to leave Earth and travel to other planets in the Milky Way to have a look. Due's eyes lit up when he finished speaking. With Due's current status, he could enjoy all the glory, splendor, and wealth that one could ever dream of on Earth. What he was after now was no longer the things on Earth. What he wanted was to prolong his life and travel to other planets in the Milky Way to broaden his horizons. That's all you've got. Du and Ling Tian shook his head when he heard Due's words. His eyes were filled with pity when he looked at Due. In his opinion, Due's ambition was nothing more than the ambition of a frog at the bottom of a well. Leave Earth and travel to other planets. Prolong my life. What's the big deal? What did you say? Due's expression changed drastically when he heard Du and Ling Tian's words. You said that's all I've got. What makes you think that's all I've got? In Due's opinion, Due's ambition was unimaginable. His ambition was so great that the average Earthling would not even dare to think about it. However, after listening to him, Du and Ling Tian actually said that was all he had after hearing him talk about his ambition. What makes you think that's all I've got? Upon hearing Due's words, Du and Ling Tian said indifferently, there's no reason. I just think that you're a frog at the bottom of a well, Frog at the bottom of a well? Du Wei was infuriated by Duan Lingtian's words. His face paled. Wait for me here for a while. At the same time, Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Xiao who was standing next to him and said, I'll take this kid with me. I'll bring this frog at the bottom of the well to see the other planets in the Milky Way that he yearns for. By the way, I'll let him know the gap between him and me. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he did not wait for Du Wei to react before he waved his hand and disappeared from the luxurious cruise ship with Du Wei in tow. In the eyes of the three bikini beauties, Duan Lingtian and Du Wei seemed to have vanished into thin air. They were so shocked that they did not regain their senses for a long time. On the other side, swoosh. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian and Du Wei had left Earth and arrived in outer space. At this moment, Du Wei finally regained his senses. You don't even know how to brag. Do you think you have the ability to take me there? When Du Wei regained his senses and was about to mock Duan Lingtian, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. It was to the extent that even his legs were trembling from fear. Heavens! Was he dreaming? Du Wei's face turned pale as he looked at the blue planet that seemed so far away yet so close at the same time. At the same time, he looked down and saw that he was in outer space. He was hovering in space outside of Earth, and he didn't use any aircraft. Naturally, he knew this was not the case. Under the pressure of the aliens in the past, it was impossible for the aircraft on Earth to reach such a height. It seems like there's an invisible force supporting me, Du Wei thought to himself. After all, Du Wei was one of the top super soldiers on Earth. He was also the leader of the Devil's Hand, a super soldier organization that stood at the top of the food chain on Earth. He quickly forced himself to calm down. After he calmed down, he discovered that there was a formless power supporting him, preventing him from falling. You don't even know how to brag. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's voice rang in his ears, scaring him out of his wits. However, when he turned around, he saw that Du Wei was standing at the foot of the mountain. Duan Lingtian stood at the side with a composed expression as he looked at him with a mocking expression. It was as though he was looking at a frog at the bottom of a well. How? How is this possible? How could you reach such a high altitude without using any aircraft? Even a wind elemental warrior can only stand in the air for a moment, at most 100 meters in the air. Chapter 2530. Du Wei had not expected this at all. Along the way, Du Wei had encountered many powerful superhumans. He had even seen a wind-type superhuman warrior who could fly more than 100 meters in the air without the use of any aircraft and could hover for a short period of time. Now, he was completely dumbfounded. The purple-clad young man in front of him was standing in space without the help of any aircraft. Am I dreaming? At this moment, Du Wei even thought he was dreaming. He did not even hesitate to slap himself in front of Duan Lingtian. The next moment, he felt a burning sensation on his face, which made him even more confused. Just as Du Wei was stunned by the burning sensation on his face, Zhongxian turned around. Now, can you confirm that you're not dreaming? Duan Lingtian's voice resounded in his ears, and it caused his expression to change drastically. It was as though he had seen a terrifying ghost. Who are you? When Du Wei looked at Duan Lingtian again, he was completely flustered. The shock that the person in front of him brought to him was too great, so great that he found it hard to accept from the bottom of his heart. Who am I? Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Didn't you confirm it when we were on the cruise ship earlier? No. Impossible. It's impossible. You can't be Lingtian. You can't be him. Even if he didn't die decades ago, it's only been a few decades. It's impossible for him to have such an ability like yours. Duan Lingtian's strength had shocked Du Wei. He no longer believed that Duan Lingtian was the Lingtian from decades ago. I have such an ability. Duan Lingtian smiled. Just the strength I've displayed so far is enough to scare the leader of the Devil's Hand. Now, I'm going to take you to the other galaxies in the Milky Way so you can have a look at my strength. If Du Wei had heard Duan Lingtian's words before this, he would have thought that Duan Lingtian was talking nonsense. However, he did not dare to doubt Duan Lingtian's words now. In his eyes, The purple-clad young man in front of him was not a human at all. How could a human stand in space with just a body of flesh and blood? Most importantly, Du Wei was not a human. It was one thing for him to stand alone in space, but to think that he could even bring an ordinary person with him to stand in space with him. After witnessing Duan Lingtian's strength, Du Wei no longer dared to regard himself as a top mutant. In front of such a powerful person, he was no different from an ordinary person. Whoosh! It was as though a gust of wind had blown through space. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian and Du Wei began to make their way out of the solar system. Originally, with his speed, it would not take him long to leave the solar system. However, in order to let Du Wei have a good look at the scenery in space, he deliberately slowed down his speed. Du Wei was carried by Duan Lingtian's invisible force. He felt as though his body was bound by something, and he could not move at all. In his panic, he could only move his eyes. Under such circumstances, he could clearly see the scene of him approaching the sun in the solar system. Du Wei's expression changed when he brushed past the sun. He was afraid he would be burned by the sun. After all, in his opinion, the temperature of the sun was terrifying. Even the temperature of the sun can't hurt him. When Du Wei saw Duan Lingtian and Du Wei were completely unscathed, he could not help but feel even more shocked. Whoosh! At this moment, Duan Lingtian suddenly sped up. Du Wei only saw a blur in front of him. The sun that looked like a huge fireball gradually disappeared from his sight. In just a blink of an eye, it had turned into a small red dot. This is another star system in the Milky Way. Du Wei muttered to himself. At the same time, Duan Lingtian and Du Wei arrived in outer space on a barren planet and came to a halt. When Du Wei heard Duan Lingtian's words, he took a closer look and discovered that they were already far away from the solar system. Do you see the planet in front of us? At the same time, Duan Lingtian's voice sounded. Du Wei followed Duan Lingtian's finger and looked in the direction Duan Lingtian's finger was pointing. He saw a grayish-yellow planet in front of them. It was obvious that the planet did not have an ocean like the one on Earth. How is the size of this planet compared to Earth? Duan Lingtian asked as he glanced at Du Wei. Although Du Wei did not know why Duan Lingtian would ask such a question, after witnessing Duan Lingtian's shocking strength, he quickly answered Duan Lingtian's question even though he had been trembling in fear throughout the journey. It's at least 5 or 6 times bigger than Earth, Du Wei replied. You have a good eye. Duan Lingtian nodded slightly when he heard Du Wei's words. This planet is about 5 times bigger than Earth. Do you think the super nuclear bombs you planted on Earth can destroy this planet? Duan Lingtian asked again. No. Although Du Wei did not know why Duan Lingtian asked this question, he answered honestly. Then, do you think a person can destroy a planet with his own strength? Duan Lingtian asked again. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Du Wei's expression changed drastically. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, his eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He was not stupid. Naturally, he understood what Duan Lingtian meant. However, he still did not believe Duan Lingtian. Even if Duan Lingtian could bring him across space, he did not think that Duan Lingtian had the strength to destroy a planet 5 times bigger than Earth. It should be noted that 5 times the size of Earth meant that the surface of the planet was extremely deep. Even a supernuclear bomb with 5 times the number of the supernuclear bombs he planted on Earth would not be able to destroy this planet. Even a supernuclear bomb with 10 times the number of the supernuclear bombs he planted on Earth would not be able to destroy this planet. This was because the explosion range of a supernuclear bomb was limited. It would be difficult for it to cover the surface of the planet. Judging from your eyes, it seems like you don't believe me. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to see through Du Wei's eyes that he did not believe Duan Lingtian. In response, Duan Lingtian only said this one sentence and did not say anything else. Instead, under Du Wei's gaze, Duan Lingtian turned around and looked at the barren planet 5 times the size of Earth. Then, he slowly raised his hand. This planet was barren. There was no life on it. It was obvious that this planet was not suitable for life. Apart from the fact that this planet is not suitable for life, it doesn't have any rotation with other planets. Even if it's gone, it won't affect this galaxy at all. Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he raised his hand. This was the reason he had chosen this planet. He did not want to harm the innocent, nor did he want to destroy the balance of the planets in the galaxy. For this reason, he had chosen this unimportant barren planet. Watch carefully, Duan Lingtian said indifferently as he raised his hand. Although he did not look at Duan Lingtian, Du Wei knew Duan Lingtian was reminding him. For a time, he stared fixedly at Duan Lingtian without blinking, as if he was deeply afraid he would miss the next scene. Elementary devouring tactic. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, that was considered extraordinary even in the Devata realms. In just a blink of an eye, a whirlpool appeared in the air and merged with Duan Lingtian's body before it began to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings. All of this happened in just a blink of an eye. It was so fast that Du Wei did not even have time to see it clearly. Du Wei only saw a black shadow flash before Duan Lingtian's body, but he did not see what it was. Swoosh! In the next moment, under Du Wei's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian's hand that had been raised a long time ago suddenly surged with majestic energy. The radiance of his power soared, as if it had turned into a scorching sun. Du Wei couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Meanwhile, bang! Under Du Wei's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian's hand that was filled with strength slowly pressed down on Du Wei's hand. His palm pressed down in the direction of the barren planet. As Duan Lingtian's men pressed down to a certain extent. Boom! In the void, a huge handprint fell, and a terrifying power swept out. It even caused the space to collapse, leaving tiny cracks in the void. At the same time, a terrifying shockwave spread out in the void, and it was clearly visible. Although Du Wei was under the protection of the Duan Lingtian's power, he was not affected at all. However, he could still see it clearly. The void in front of him was distorted by Duan Lingtian's power, and ripples spread out like a stone falling into a calm water surface. While Du Wei was stunned by this scene, he was momentarily in a daze. Bang! An earth-shattering sound rang out from the direction of the barren planet. Du Wei snapped out of his daze and instinctively looked in the direction of the barren planet. Boom! 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 As soon as Du Wei looked at the barren planet, another series of loud noises rang in his ears. In the next moment, his vision was obscured by a cloud of dust, making it impossible for him to see the situation of the barren planet. However, a moment later, when the dust settled, his pupils suddenly shrank and widened. It was as though his eyes would pop out at any time. Chapter 25:31. As the dust in front of him dissipated, Du Wei was shocked to see that the dust in front of him had disappeared. The planet that was 5 times the size of Earth had disappeared without a trace, as if it had never existed in the first place. All that was left was a boundless starry sky. Gone, gone. That's a planet. And, it's a planet that's 5 times larger than Earth. Du Wei stared blankly at the boundless starry sky in front of him. His emotions were in turmoil, rising and falling continuously. He was unable to calm down even after a long time. If he could, he would rather believe that everything in front of him was a dream. However, after the probing just now, he was certain that the young man was not a fool. Everything in front of him was not a dream, it was real. Back then, after I was betrayed by you, I did die. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's voice rang in Du Wei's ears, causing him to regain his senses. At the same time, he was shocked. Could it be that this purple-clothed young man was the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, who was betrayed by him several tens of years ago? Impossible. Impossible, impossible. Du Wei didn't believe it from the bottom of his heart. Even if Ling Tian did not die a few decades ago, how could Ling Tian possess such a godlike power in just a few decades? In Dewey's opinion, Qin Yi was a genius. Destroying a planet that was 5 times the size of Earth with just a flip of the palm, this kind of power was far beyond the scope of his understanding. It was like the power of a god. However, I was lucky. Although I died, for some unknown reason, my soul was transported to another world. In that world, I was reborn. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Wei and continued. From the beginning to the end, his face was calm, as if he was narrating an unimportant matter. That world is a world where martial power reigns supreme and the strong are respected. Relying on the various fortuitous encounters in that world, I've been able to reach where I am today after a few decades. Not long ago, I just returned from that world to this world where Earth is. The power that I possess now can be considered as the top power in the first echelon of the world where Earth is located and the endless starry sky. You can boast that you're at the top of the food chain on Earth, but I, Ling Tian, am at the top of the food chain in this world where Earth is located. Duan Lingtian paused for a moment when he reached this part of his sentence. At this moment, Duwei's expression also changed drastically. There was only shock in his eyes. He believed this was the truth. There was no need for this purple-clothed young man. In that case, was this purple-clad young man really the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, who was killed by him a few decades ago? However, he did not expect this Duan Ling Tian would be so. Back then, after Ling Tian died, his soul was actually fortunate enough to be transported to another world. In just a few short decades, he possessed a strength that allowed him to stand at the top of the food chain in this world. For a moment, jealousy and hatred appeared in the depths of his shocked eyes. Why? Why did a dead person do better than him? Perhaps, in your opinion, the Milky Way is already the world that I'm talking about. Duan Ling Tian looked at Du Wei and said indifferently, however, I want to tell you that the world Earth is in is called the Yang Huang realm. In the Yang Huang realm, there are countless galaxies like the Milky Way. Even in the Yang Huang realm, the Milky Way is just a very backward galaxy with a lack of heaven and earth spirit chi. Some powerful cultivators and even forces with top-notch high-tech civilizations don't even bother to take root here. You might be shocked when you saw how I destroyed a planet with just a wave of my hand. You might even think that not many people in this world are capable of this. However, I want to tell you that I didn't use my full strength earlier. And there are many cultivators who can do what I just did in the world where Earth is located, which is the Yang Huang realm. Moreover, the Apocalypse-level battleships controlled by the forces with advanced technology are capable of destroying the planet with just one blast. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Wei with disdain when he said this. Now, do you think you're a frog at the bottom of a well? Your ambition is nothing but a joke in front of a true powerhouse. In fact, Duan Wei's heart skipped a beat when he heard Duan Lingtian's words earlier. Duan Lingtian did not use his full strength earlier when he destroyed the planet with just one blast. In this world, there were actually so many people who could destroy a planet with their own strength. Furthermore, the Apocalypse-level battleship possessed by a force that possessed a top-notch high-tech civilization could destroy that planet with just one shot. A frog at the bottom of a well. Unknowingly, a bitter smile appeared on Duwei's face. It was just as Duan Lingtian had said. He was indeed a frog at the bottom of a well in the face of Duan Lingtian's words. To me, the so-called backup plan you left behind on Earth is nothing but a joke. As long as I'm willing, I can use my divine consciousness to lock on to anyone who has come into contact with you. This is because anyone who has come into contact with you will more or less have your aura on them. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Wei indifferently and continued to say, for this reason, it's not difficult for me to find the men of sacrifice you've cultivated who have mastered the super-nuclear detonation device. In fact, as long as I want to, I can find all the nuclear weapons on Earth in half an hour at most and throw them into space, letting them be destroyed in space. Bang! Bang! Duan Lingtian's last two sentences were like a sledgehammer that slammed heavily on Duan Wei's chest. His face turned pale, and his eyes glazed over as though he had lost his soul. He did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words at all. After all, this was a person who could destroy a planet 5 times the size of Earth with just a flip of his palm. At this moment, Duan Wei felt the scheme he had set up in the past was nothing but a joke. I've said all that I have to say. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's indifferent gaze that had been looking at Du Wei suddenly turned cold and piercing. Now, it's time to settle the old score between you and me from decades ago. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, a terrifying killing intent surged out of his body. As soon as the killing intent swept out and enveloped Duan Lingtian, Duan Wei's expression changed drastically. He looked at Duan Lingtian with a panicked expression and said anxiously, Duan Lingtian, Tian. Little brother Tian, Don't kill me, don't kill me. Brother Wei was wrong. Brother Wei knows his mistake. Brother Wei really knows his mistake. Fortunately, Du Wei was unable to move his body. Otherwise, he would have collapsed to the ground in fear. Even so, Du Wei's body was still trembling uncontrollably. When Duan Ling Tian saw this, he decided to stop restraining Du Wei's body. Immediately, Dewey collapsed to the ground. The moment he fell to the ground, he lowered his head to look at the boundless starry sky with a panicked expression. His legs trembled, and drops of liquid fell from between his legs. He was so scared that he peed. At this moment, Du Wei collapsed on a transparent glass-like wall of air that traversed the void. Even though Du Wei did not have acrophobia, he still could not help but tremble with fear. After a while, he discovered that the transparent glass-like wall of air was strong enough to support his body, so he stood up. After standing up, he fell to his knees in front of Duan Ling Tian with a thud. "Brother Tian, please spare me, spare me." Back then, it was Brother Wei who was blinded by greed. "Brother Wei let you down. Little Brother Tian, please don't kill me. Brother Wei knows his mistake. Brother Wei really knows his mistake." Du Wei continued to kowtow as he begged for mercy. His voice was filled with despair. In the past, Duan Ling Tian regarded Du Wei as his brother. Since Duan Ling Tian was older than him, he addressed Du Wei as Brother Wei while Du Wei addressed him as Little Brother Tian. After so many years, Duan Ling Tian did not feel nostalgic at all when he heard this form of address again. In fact, at this moment, there was only disgust in his heart when he heard this form of address. "Hypocrite." Duan Ling Tian glanced at Du Wei in disgust before he said indifferently, "Everyone has to be responsible for their actions. For the sake of our past friendship, I'll give you a quick death." Originally, Duan Ling Tian had planned to slowly torture Du Wei before killing him. However, when he saw Du Wei kneeling on the ground and completely abandoning his dignity, he felt that there was no need for him to waste any more time on Du Wei. "Ling Tian." When Du Wei heard the determination in Duan Ling Tian's voice, he knew that once Duan Ling Tian made up his mind, no one would be able to change his mind. For this reason, he did not continue to beg for mercy. He stood up and glared at Duan Ling Tian as he growled, "If I didn't kill you back then, how could you be where you are today? If you didn't die a few decades ago, even if you stood at the peak of Earth and became the strongest person on Earth, it would still be incomparable to your current achievement. In other words, I, Du Wei, am the one who made you who you are today." When Du Wei reached the end of his sentence, it was as though he was grasping at a life-saving straw. He shouted hysterically, "Weren't you very particular about repaying kindness in the past? I've done you such a great favor. If you kill me, the heavens won't tolerate it." When Duan Ling Tian heard Du Wei's words, he was stunned for a moment before he laughed out loud. Chapter 2532. Did I say something wrong? Du Wei shouted, "If I hadn't betrayed you and caused your death, would you, Ling Tian, be where you are today?" What a twisted argument. Duan Ling Tian sneered. "Don't tell me you already knew my soul would travel to another world and achieve my current achievements when you planned to betray me and kill me." At this moment, Duan Ling Tian found Du Wei's words laughable. Betrayed him and caused his death. Did he owe him a favor? Ridiculous. Whether I knew it or not, it's the truth. Du Wei continued to shout, "That's why you can't kill me. If you kill me, you'll be repaying kindness with ingratitude. That's not Ling Tian's character, and it's not Ling Tian's style." At this moment, when his life was on the line, Du Wei threw caution to the wind and tried to use morality to coerce Duan Ling Tian. In his opinion, Du Wei was a fool. A few decades ago, Ling Tian was a person who knew how to repay kindness with ingratitude. However, at this moment, he was full of himself. He knew this. Although he had betrayed Ling Tian and caused his death, he had allowed Ling Tian to achieve his current achievements. The benefits he had brought to Ling Tian were more than enough to make up for his past mistakes. "You seem to know my character and style very well, right?" Duan Ling Tian continued to sneer. With just a thought, Duan Ling Tian withdrew the energy that was supporting Du Wei's kneeling position in outer space, exposing Du Wei's body to outer space. No. In the blink of an eye, the cold air in space froze Du Wei to death as he screamed in agony. Although Du Wei was a super soldier and his soul was comparable to the soul of an eminent celestial, his body was still that of an ordinary person. As an ordinary person, it was impossible for him to survive in space. Bang! When Duan Lingtian saw that Du Wei was frozen to death and his body was frozen, his expression was calm. He struck with his palm and shattered Du Wei's frozen body. He said he shattered Du Wei's body. At this moment, Du Wei's body was completely frozen from the outside to the inside. Duan Lingtian's palm whistled out, and it was as though he had struck a solid block of ice. The ice then shattered, turning into ice shards that filled the sky and scattered into space. Under the illumination of the star not far away, they shone brightly. Du Wei, the man who betrayed Duan Lingtian and killed Duan Lingtian in his past life, had fallen. Achem. When Duan Lingtian saw Du Wei's frozen body shattering, he raised an eyebrow and closed his eyes as though he sensed something. His entire body stood straight like a javelin in the same place. Almost at the instant Duan Lingtian closed his eyes and stood straight on the spot. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Waves of rolling power swept out from his body. As soon as the energy was released, it shrouded his body and formed the shape of a sword. Streaks of energy that were condensed into the shape of swords rose from Duan Lingtian's body and continued to stack on top of each other as though they would never stop. These streaks of sword-shaped energy rose from Duan Lingtian's body like burning sword-shaped flames. In the end, they gathered together, causing the sword-shaped flames to soar and become increasingly deep. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was fully immersed in comprehending the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. In the past, he had only comprehended the 6th sword of the 13 green lotus swords. After that, he could not make any further progress. He always felt there was an obstacle. However, it was not a bottleneck, but an obsession. As for the obsession, it was because of Du Wei, his manager in his past life. Now that Du Wei was dead, his obsession was naturally gone without a fight. As Duan Lingtian watched Du Wei die, the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, suddenly appeared in his mind. However, although Duan Lingtian could ignore the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, that suddenly appeared in his mind, he did not do so. This was because he knew since the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, had appeared at this time, there must be a reason for it. If he ignored it, he might miss out on something. This is, soon after, Duan Lingtian discovered something. In the past, no matter how hard he tried to comprehend it, he could not make any progress in the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. At this moment, with just a thought, he could make rapid progress. The speed of his advancement had reached a shocking level. Could it be that I've encountered an epiphany? After this thought flashed through Duan Lingtian's mind, he no longer dared to be distracted. He devoted all his attention to the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, and turned a deaf ear to everything around him. Duan Lingtian stood in space like an old monk in a meditative state. The sword-shaped flames that were formed from the surging energy on his body rose even higher, causing the sword-shaped flames that were hovering above Duan Lingtian's head like a gigantic mountain that enveloped Duan Lingtian began to soar even higher. 7th Green Lotus Sword. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian had successfully comprehended the 7th sword of the 13 Green Lotus Swords. However, this was not the end. 8th Green Lotus Sword. 9th Green Lotus Sword. 10th Green Lotus Sword. It felt like only a moment had passed, yet it also felt like thousands of years had passed. By the time Duan Lingtian regained his senses, he had already comprehended the 13th sword of the 13 green lotus swords. Since then, he had completely mastered the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. I didn't expect my luck to be so good. I actually entered the state of epiphany when Duan Lingtian died and successfully mastered the divine ability, the 13 green lotus sword. When Duan Lingtian regained his senses, the sword-shaped flame that was like a towering mountain that enveloped Duan Lingtian began to shrink rapidly as soon as Duan Lingtian opened his eyes. In the end, it merged with Duan Lingtian's body and completely disappeared. It was as though it had never appeared. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed coldly when he opened them. Whoosh, whoosh, 2 streams of sword chi whizzed out from his eyes without any warning. While he was startled, they had already dissipated into the void in front of him. Sword chi from the eyes. This is indeed the sign of completely mastering the divine ability, the 13 green lotus sword. During the state of epiphany, Duan Lingtian knew he had successfully mastered the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. He knew he had successfully comprehended the last few swords of the 13 green lotus swords, including the last sword. However, it was just a feeling after all. For this reason, even he did not dare to say he had mastered all the profundities of the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, before he confirmed it. Now that the sword chi from the eyes had appeared, he was even more certain that he had completely mastered the 13 green lotus swords. Sword chi. However, even with the appearance of the sword ray, Duan Lingtian still raised his hand and formed a sword with his fingers. When he pointed his finger out, the sword ray whistled as he tested the profundity of the 13 green lotus swords that he had just comprehended. Whoosh! The first sword chi whistled as it shot out. Almost at the same time as this sword gleam whizzed out, another sword gleam whizzed out like a shadow following the body. In the end, all the sword chi merged with the first sword chi, causing the first sword chi to surge. Based on the number of sword chi that shot out, it was clear that Duan Lingtian had mastered the divine ability. Duan Lingtian had indeed mastered all the profundities of the 13 green lotus swords. Not only that, but he had also cast the remaining 7 swords of the green lotus sword, including the last sword of the 13 green lotus sword. It seems that my previous actions of bringing Duwei away from Earth with great fanfare, gradually making him despair, and then killing him. Although it was somewhat troublesome, it was the right thing to do. It seems that because I did this, I was able to completely vent my anger and let go of the obsession that arose because of him in my previous life. As a result, I was somewhat inexplicably immersed in the enlightenment state of the 13 swords of Green Lotus, successfully comprehending all the mysteries of the 13 swords of Green Lotus, and completely grasping the 13 swords of Green Lotus. Duan Lingtian did not expect that Duan Lingtian would be able to bring Duan Lingtian to Earth with him. Taking Du Wei away from Earth with a single thought and killing him after Du Wei had given up all hope would bring him such benefits. Fortunately, I brought him away. If I had killed him on the luxurious cruise ship, I might not have been able to vent my anger like I did now. If I couldn't vent my anger, I wouldn't have sunk into the state of epiphany of the 13 green lotus swords. Duan Lingtian could not help but rejoice when he thought of this. In this way, it was worth it for him to make such a big fuss. You're finally awake. Right when Duan Lingtian had slightly recovered from his shock, a familiar voice sounded out by his ears. He looked sideways and saw Tang Xiao sitting cross-legged not far away, looking at him. Why are you here? Duan Lingtian was stunned when he saw Tang Xiao. You. Aren't you on planet Yang Huang? You've been standing here for 5 years. Why do you think I'm here? Tang Xiao shook her head before she continued to ask, you seem to be comprehending some kind of divine ability. How was it? Did you manage to comprehend it? What? 5 years. Duan Lingtian did not hear the second half of Tang Xiao's sentence since his attention was completely focused on the first half. 5 years. It took him 5 years to comprehend the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. Damn it. A month after Duwei's death, his people detonated the super nuclear bombs that were hidden all over Earth. However, 5 years have passed since then. Earth is destroyed. Chapter 2533. No. Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. His heart was burning with anxiety when he suddenly thought of something. He looked at Tang Xiao and asked with a burning gaze, Xiao, before you left planet Yang Huang, did you remove the super-nuclear bombs that Duan Wei placed all over planet Yang Huang? In Duan Lingtian's opinion, Tang Xiao must have known about this at that time. Logically speaking, Tang Xiao should have helped him since he had not returned for a long time. Moreover, planet Yang Huang was not only his hometown in his previous life, but it was also the cultivation planet of the Tang sect behind Tang Xiao. No matter what the reason was, Tang Xiao would not stand by and do nothing. I followed you a day after you left, but you didn't return. Tang Xiao Xiao felt slightly embarrassed when she saw Duan Lingtian's burning gaze. I've been looking for you for a few days before I finally found you here. Since then, I've been comprehending the divine ability and guarding you until now. Swoosh. Duan Lingtian's expression changed again when he heard Tang Xiao Xiao's words. A hint of regret could be seen in his eyes. He regretted that he had sunk into the state of epiphany and missed the opportunity to save Earth. All right, I won't joke with you anymore. Duan Lingtian's expression changed again, but Tang Xiao Xiao could not help but chuckle. The awkward expression on her face disappeared in just a blink of an eye. Actually, it's only been 10 days since you left planet Yang Huang. Tang Xiao Xiao said. It was obvious she was joking when she said Duan Lingtian had stood in space for 5 years. Duan Lingtian regained his senses as soon as Tang Xiao Xiao finished speaking. You, then, he looked at Tang Xiao Xiao and pointed at her. You. He didn't say a complete sentence for a long time. It was obvious that he was in a bad mood. It made sense. Just a moment ago, he thought Earth had been destroyed because of his mistake. However, Tang Xiao Xiao said that she was joking with him. It had only taken him 10 days to achieve enlightenment, not 5 years. All right, enough with the you. Let's go and solve those troublesome matters. Tang Xiao Xiao shook her head with a smile. This was the first time she had seen Duan Lingtian lose his composure since she met Duan Lingtian. For a moment, she was no longer in the mood to joke with Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian was both angry and helpless at this moment. After all, he really thought that he had spent 5 years to comprehend the 13 green lotus swords. Don't make such a joke next time. Duan Lingtian glared at Tang Xiao Xiao before he made his way to the solar system where Earth was located. It did not take him long before he returned to the solar system. It was just like what Duan Lingtian had told his agent in his previous life, Du Wei. It was not difficult for him to find Du Wei's men of sacrifice. As long as he was willing to spend some time and effort, it would be easy for him to find them. That was indeed the case. Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness and searched patiently. It only took him a day and a night to find all the kamikaze warriors that Du Wei had trained. Then, he killed all of them without leaving any loose ends. The hands of these men of sacrifice trained by Du Wei were stained with the lives of many innocent people. For this reason, Duan Lingtian did not feel pressured at all when he killed them. After Duan Lingtian killed all the kamikaze warriors that Du Wei had trained, he took out the super nuclear bombs that Du Wei had hidden all over Earth and threw them into the boundless space. After leaving behind mushroom clouds, they completely disappeared from this world. The soul of Yang Huang, Long Zhenguo. It's really Instructor Long. After destroying the super nuclear bombs left behind by Du Wei, the first thing Duan Lingtian did when he returned to Earth was to learn more about the soul of Yang Huang, one of the 2 strongest super soldier organizations on Earth. It was an organization that belonged to Hua Nation. In the end, he discovered that the leader of the soul of Yang Huang that Du Wei mentioned was actually his former instructor, Long Zhenguo. After Duan Lingtian confirmed the leader of the soul of Yang Huang was his instructor, Long Zhenguo, he did not linger around. In just a blink of an eye, he returned to Hua. With his current strength, it would only take him a breath's time to travel around the Earth at full speed. Therefore, returning to Hua Nation was just a matter of a thought. My motherland. I, Lingtian, am back. Back in Hua Nation, Duan Lingtian hovered in the void, overlooking the beautiful rivers and mountains of his motherland. His eyes gradually became blurred. The memories of his previous life flooded into his mind bit by bit. Naturally, most of his memories were of his military career in his motherland. Blood Wolf, Wind Wolf's death has nothing to do with you. If you were a little more careful, even if he didn't die, he would have been bedridden in a vegetative state. To Wind Wolf, that would have been more painful than taking his life. Duan Lingtian still remembered Instructor Long's words when he decided to retire. Blood Wolf was his code name when he was serving in the Wolf Fang Special Forces in Hua Nation. Naturally, this code name no longer belonged to him when he decided to retire from the Wolf Fang Special Forces. This was because someone else had replaced him and became the new Blood Wolf. Duan Lingtian still remembered Instructor Long trying to persuade him to stay when he decided to retire. However, he still insisted on leaving because he could not get over the hurdle. If it were not for his mistake, his comrade would not have died. If Wind Wolf did not die back then, even if he was bedridden and in a vegetative state, with the current medical technology on Earth, it would not be impossible to wake him up. When he thought of this, Duan Lingtian blamed himself even more. Back then, it was because of a small mistake that caused his comrade, Wind Wolf, to die in a cross-country SSS-level mission that he chose to retire from the Wolf Fang Special Forces out of self-blame. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian did not know when, but he came back to his senses from the memories of the past. With a thought, he disappeared from the sky of Hua Nation again. When he reappeared, he was already outside a completely sealed-off base. This base was located in the middle of the vast mountains, like an iron bucket. Usually, if the base did not take the initiative to open it, not even a fly could fly in. Even the top mutant warriors on Earth could not break in. Even if they broke in, they might not be able to survive. This was because there was no lack of top mutant warriors on Earth in this base. Who is this person? When Duan Lingtian appeared outside the completely enclosed base, a group of staff in charge of daily surveillance in the base also noticed Duan Lingtian, who seemed to have appeared out of thin air from the surveillance screen in front of them. When they saw Duan Lingtian on the surveillance screen, they were stunned. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The reason these staff in charge of surveillance were so stunned was mainly because the way Duan Lingtian appeared was too frightening. How did he appear? He can fly. Moreover, it seems like he has been standing in the air for some time. Even a top-wind mutant warrior can't stand in the air for such a long time without any flying equipment, right? Did he use some kind of invisible flying equipment? Impossible. I've already scanned him just now. He doesn't have a single technological product on him. In fact, he doesn't even have a communication device. And he's wearing an ancient costume. Could he be an actor from a film crew who got lost and came here? An actor? Have you ever seen an actor who can stand in the air for such a long time without any support? A moment later, the huge surveillance room became as noisy as a wet market. Their eyes were filled with shock, confusion, and disbelief as they stared at the handsome purple-clad young man standing in the air on the surveillance screen. It was as though there was some kind of special magic on him that attracted their attention. I just noticed his face. He's so handsome. Did you guys notice that his temperament is otherworldly? He's like a celestial being who has descended to Earth. Compared to him, those male celebrities who are extremely good-looking are just good-looking shells. There were only a few young girls in the monitoring room. At this moment, they were like hungry wolves as they stared at the purple figure on the screen with gleaming eyes. Just when everyone in the monitoring room was attracted by the purple figure standing in the air on the monitor screen, the purple figure suddenly appeared on the monitor screen. "I'm looking for Long Zhenguo, Instructor Long." A voice that seemed to contain a very special magic was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. Where did this voice come from? Everyone in the monitoring room couldn't help but be stunned. His mouth moved just now. Was he talking? At this time, a male staff member pointed at the purple figure on the monitor screen and said with a slightly sluggish expression, "He's talking. But there's no loudspeaker where he is. There's no sound transmission device." The other staff members in the surveillance room were confused. Long Zhenguo. Isn't that the leader? Why would he call the leader instructor? At the same time, the person in charge of the surveillance room, a member of the Soul of Yang Huang, was stunned. "I'm looking for Long Zhenguo, Instructor Long." Chapter 2534. In fact, when Duan Lingtian had returned to Hua Nation, he had used his divine consciousness to locate his former instructor, Long Zhenguo. However, since Long Zhenguo was in a completely sealed-off base, he did not appear in front of Long Zhenguo. If he chose to appear in front of Long Zhenguo, he would definitely destroy Long Zhenguo's base. Therefore, he chose to wait outside the base for Long Zhenguo. Waiting was one thing, but he wasn't foolish enough to wait. He directly said that he wanted to see instructor Long Zhenguo. Duan Lingtian's voice echoed in the air. The voice, which contained his power, spread through the base and into the ears of everyone in the base. I'm looking for Long Zhenguo, Instructor Long. When Duan Lingtian's words reached everyone's ears, it also reached Long Zhenguo's ears. Long Zhenguo was a middle-aged man with big shoulders and a thick waist. When he heard Duan Lingtian's voice, he was in a meeting with his 10 generals in a spacious meeting room. If he was the soul of Yang Huang, then the 10 generals under him were the body of the soul of Yang Huang. They were indispensable to the organization. Instructor Long. Long Zhenguo's expression turned grave when he heard the voice that sounded like it was right next to his ear. He knew the person who spoke must be an expert. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to know such a method of communication. However, he had not heard the name Instructor Long for many years. This was because he had not been an instructor for many years. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, the other 10 people in the meeting room turned to look at Long Zhenguo in shock when they heard the voice. At this moment, one of them had a communication device that looked like a watch on his wrist. Then, as though he had received news, he looked at Long Zhenguo and said, "Leader, according to the surveillance department, the person who's looking for you is outside our base." Outside our base? Instantly, the other 9 people were shocked. Even Long Zhenguo had a look of surprise in his eyes. He raised his hand and pressed one of the buttons on the conference table in front of him. As soon as he pressed the button, a projection appeared on the table. It was a mirror image of the scene outside the base. At this moment, a purple-clad young man was hovering in the air outside the base. He stood there in the air, not relying on anything, and it didn't seem like he was using an invisible flying tool. According to the surveillance department, there's no technological equipment on him. He doesn't even have a communication device. The person who warned Long Zhenguo said, "Gasp, gasp, 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 gasp." As soon as the person who had warned Long Zhenguo finished speaking, everyone present, including Long Zhenguo, could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. I don't think even a peak wind special ability warrior would be able to do that. A young man who was sitting on the other side of the table looked at a young woman in a green suit. "If I don't use a flying tool, I can only stay in the air for half a minute at most." The young woman was one of the peak wind special ability warriors in the soul of Yang Huang. Among all the peak wind special ability warriors on Earth, she was one of the top 3 peak wind special ability warriors. For this reason, her words represented more than 90% of the peak wind special ability warriors. This person seems a little strange. He's wearing an ancient robe. Could he be from one of the reclusive clans in Hua? As far as I know, some of the reclusive clans have been living in the mountains and forests since ancient times without any contact with the outside world. Another person speculated, many of those reclusive clans still wear ancient robes. Their lifestyle is no different from ancient times. "I'm Long Zhenguo." "Who are you?" At this moment, Long Zhenguo pressed another button on the table in front of him and asked. His voice was amplified outside the base and into Duan Lingtian's ears. "Instructor Long." Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he heard the familiar voice. He could not help but feel excited. In the end, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and sent a voice transmission that only Long Zhenguo could hear. "Instructor Long, I'm Bloodwolf Lingtian." Bloodwolf Lingtian. Duan Lingtian revealed his identity in his past life. If he had only told Duan Lingtian that he was Bloodwolf, Instructor Long might not know which generation he was from. Now that he had said his name, he believed that Instructor Long would definitely be able to react and confirm his identity in the first place. "Instructor Long, I'm Bloodwolf Lingtian." When Long Zhenguo heard Duan Lingtian's voice transmission, he was dumbfounded. Lingtian. How long had it been since he last heard this name? Lingtian was the most outstanding soldier he had ever trained. If Lingtian did not retire from the military, Lingtian's achievements would not be inferior to his. Although Lingtian had retired from the military and became an international mercenary, Lingtian had never forgotten his roots. He had always taken it upon himself to protect his country. Long Zhenguo was very pleased with this. Unfortunately, Lingtian had disappeared a few decades ago. Since then, Long Zhenguo had not heard any news about Lingtian. Long Zhenguo had even sent someone to investigate Ling Tian, but to no avail. How did he change so much in just a few decades? Long Zhenguo could not help but frown as he looked at the purple-clad young man in the projection. He felt the purple-clad young man before him was a completely different person from the blood wolf Ling Tian in his memory. Although he had his doubts, he was still prepared to meet this person who claimed to be blood wolf Ling Tian. Today's meeting will end here. I'm going out for a while. Long Zhenguo looked at the other 10 people around the table and said, "Leader, are you going to meet this person?" "Leader, there's something strange about this person. I'll go with you." "That's right, Leader. We don't know this person's identity, and we don't know where he came from. I don't think it's appropriate for you to meet him like this." The 10 people in front of the conference table advised Long Zhenguo one after another. "Didn't you hear him say his blood wolf Ling Tian?" Long Zhenguo asked with a frown on his face. Long Zhenguo was unaware that he was the only one who had heard what Duan Lingtian had said to him earlier. Blood wolf Ling Tian? The 10 people present were stunned when they heard Long Zhenguo's words. As one of the 10 great generals under Long Zhenguo's command, they had heard Long Zhenguo talk about his past in their free time. Among them were a group of elite soldiers whom Long Zhenguo had trained when he was an instructor. Among the elite soldiers, Blood Wolf Ling Tian was the best. His Blood Wolf Ling Tian? The eyes of the young woman in the green suit lit up as a look of admiration appeared on her face. Before the Nirvana transformation, Blood Wolf Ling Tian was a powerhouse whose name resounded throughout the underground world. He was widely acknowledged as the strongest person in the underground world. At that time, although she was still young, she still saw Ling Tian as her idol and worshipped him greatly. It did not cross Duan Ling Tian's mind that Long Zhenguo was not the only person who had shown up. Rumble. Rumble. As the door to the base opened, Long Zhenguo strode out in large strides like a dragon. Surprisingly, there were 10 people following behind him. With just a glance, Duan Lingtian could tell they were the people he had probed with his divine consciousness earlier. They were the best superpowered warriors on Earth. Their souls were as strong as eminent celestials. Naturally, half of the reason why their souls were so strong was because they had taken the gene reagent. Therefore, their use of the soul was limited to communicating with some natural elements between heaven and earth, and from there, they could use all sorts of abilities of superpowered warriors. "Are you Blood Wolf?" Long Zhenguo asked solemnly as he stepped forward and looked at the purple-clad young man hovering in the air. Instructor Long. A smile appeared on Duan Ling Tian's face when he saw his instructor still looking the same as before. Then, he slowly landed in front of Long Zhenguo and stood as straight as a javelin. At the same time, he gave Long Zhenguo a standard military salute. Although Long Zhenguo was not certain if the purple-clad young man was Ling Tian, he still returned the salute. "You look completely different from Blood Wolf. How can you prove that you're him?" Long Zhenguo asked in a deep voice as he looked at Duan Lingtian. "Instructor Long, do you really want me to prove it?" Duan Lingtian looked at Long Zhenguo meaningfully when he heard Long Zhenguo's words. A hint of mockery could be seen in his eyes. "Speak." Long Zhenguo's tone left no room for doubt. "I remember the first time I went to your house. Sister-in-law punished you by kneeling on a durian for 15 minutes. Initially, she wanted you to kneel for half an hour, but when she saw that I was around, she..." Duan Lingtian said slowly. However, before he could finish speaking, Long Zhenguo hastily interrupted him. "All right, that's enough. I can't believe it's really you." At this moment, Long Zhenguo could clearly sense the strange gazes that were directed at him from behind. These strange gazes came from the 10 great battle generals under his command, causing his dignified face to heat up for a moment. "Boy, I haven't heard from you for the past few decades. I've sent people everywhere to look for you, but it's to no avail. Where have you been all these years?" Long Zhenguo changed the topic and looked at Duan Lingtian as he asked, "What's wrong with you?" Chapter 25-35. Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat when he heard Long Zhenguo's words. It turned out that after he was betrayed and killed, and disappeared without a trace, this instructor Long in front of him had once sent people to inquire about him. At that time, he had already retired from the military, so he did not have any relationship with Long Zhenguo. All he had was a personal relationship. Instructor Long, after I disappeared a few decades ago, a series of things happened to me. It's hard to explain in a few words, but it's also unbelievable. Duan Lingtian looked at Long Zhenguo and said, "There are some things that you'll only believe if you see them with your own eyes. Kid, why are you keeping me in suspense? If you have something to say, just say it." Long Zhenguo said impatiently when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He was slightly annoyed. "In that case, Instructor Long, you and the 10 people behind you will follow me into outer space." Duan Lingtian did not waste any more words when he heard Long Zhenguo's impatience. With a wave of his hand, he brought Long Zhenguo and the 10 people behind him into the air. We're flying. How is this possible? Not only can he fly by himself, but he can also bring the 11 of us with him. This was because Duan Lingtian had intentionally slowed down when he brought Long Zhenguo and the others into the air. Therefore, Long Zhenguo and the others could clearly see themselves rising into the air at an exaggerated speed as they flew into outer space. The buildings in their eyes gradually became smaller until they could no longer see clearly. Mountains and rivers appeared in their eyes as well. In the end, a beautiful blue planet appeared before their eyes. The planet grew smaller and smaller in their eyes as it grew further and further away from them. When the planet became the size of a basketball in their eyes, they finally stopped flying into outer space. For a moment, they realized that they were suspended in outer space as though they were being supported by an invisible force. All 11 of them, including Long Zhenguo, stood in outer space. Their bodies were stiff, and they did not dare to move. Not far away from them, Duan Lingtian stood there with his hands behind his back, looking indifferently at the basketball-sized earth in front of him. Such a technique is comparable to the technique of a god, right? Moments later, Long Zhenguo and the others regained their senses. When they looked at Duan Lingtian again, there was only shock in their eyes. Was this even something a human could do? Bloodwolf, you little. No matter how confused Long Zhenguo was, he could not bring himself to call Duan Lingtian kid when he tried to address him as Duan Lingtian. Now, the purple-clothed young man before him was like a god in his eyes. Unknowingly, he felt the distance between him and the purple-robed young man gradually widening, even if he knew that the purple-robed young man was a soldier he had trained in the past. "Instructor Long, I'm still the same Bloodwolf as before. There's no need to hold back between us." Duan Lingtian smiled faintly when he saw Long Zhenguo's hesitation. "Ask away if you have any questions. No matter how unbelievable my power is, I'm still the same soldier you trained in the past. Good boy, you almost scared the hell out of me." Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Long Zhenguo finally let go of his worries. He said snappily, "What have you been doing for the past few decades?" He's simply amazing the world with a single brilliant feat. Although Long Zhenguo had thought about this more than once over the years, Duan Lingtian was not the only one. If the soldier he trained in the past did not go missing, his achievements would not be inferior to his. However, it did not cross his mind that Duan Lingtian's achievements would not only be on par with his, but it had also reached a stage that he could not comprehend. The technique that the other party was using right now was comparable to the techniques of the immortals and gods in the ancient myths and legends of China. At this moment, the 10 men standing behind Long Zhenguo looked at Duan Lingtian with an expression of disbelief and reverence. They revered the strong. However, the purple-robed young man's strength was beyond their understanding. They could only look up to him. As expected of the Bloodwolf, Ling Tian, the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, the young woman in the green suit, as a top-wind elemental warrior, looked at Duan Lingtian as though she was a fangirl looking at her idol. She was infatuated and fanatical. She discovered that she, who used to idolize Ling Tian, worshipped Ling Tian even more now. At this moment, Ling Tian was like a god in her heart. He was so high and mighty that he could not be blasphemed. "Actually, I died a few decades ago." Duan Lingtian sighed when he heard Long Zhenguo's question. What? Whether it was Long Zhenguo or the 10 people behind him, all of them were confused when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Did this fellow just say he died a few decades ago? Then, who was the person standing in front of them now? Was he a ghost? "Bloodwolf, your joke isn't funny at all," Long Zhenguo said sternly. Long Zhenguo said with a straight face. He thought Duan Lingtian was joking. What a joke! If this kid had died a few decades ago, how could he be standing in front of him now? Instructor Long, I'm not joking. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Then, under the skeptical gazes of Long Zhenguo and the others, he slowly said, a few decades ago, I was betrayed by my manager and died in country R. However, I was lucky. Although my body died, my soul traveled to another world. That world is a world where the strong are respected. Martial artists cultivate to defy the heavens and change their fates. It was from that world that I returned to the world where Earth is located. Duan Lingtian continued to speak. When Duan Lingtian mentioned that the person who killed him was Du Wei, the leader of the Devil's Hand, the 10 people behind Long Zhenguo were shocked. The Devil's Hand was the archenemy of the soul of Yang Huang. The leader of the Devil's Hand, Du Wei, was a huge threat to the soul of Yang Huang. Even their leader had said that he might not be a match for Du Wei the next time they met. For this reason, they had been under a lot of pressure recently. No wonder he knows the complete form and will fist. As it turns out, he's your manager and has the form and will fist manual that you left behind. Realization dawned on Long Zhenguo. Senior Ling Tian. At this moment, a young man among the 10 people behind Long Zhenguo looked at Duan Lingtian with bright eyes. Since Du Wei killed you, you can seek revenge and kill him now. With your current strength, isn't it child's play for you to kill him? The others nodded in agreement when they heard the young man's words. He's already dead. Duan Lingtian said indifferently, the first thing I did when I returned to Earth was to look for him. As Duan Lingtian spoke, he took out a jade token and crushed it. A few moments later, a mirror image appeared in front of Long Zhenguo and the others. The mirror image kept changing until it showed Duan Lingtian bringing Du Wei to a barren planet outside the solar system. The barren planet was 5 times the size of Earth. Following that, Tang Zhengguo and the others saw another scene. With a raise of his hand, Duan Lingtian slammed his palm down and destroyed the planet that was larger than Earth. Instantly, gasp, 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 gasp. Tang Zhengguo and the others were stunned for a long time before they inhaled sharply. An expression of shock and disbelief could be seen on their faces. When they were brought to outer space by Duan Lingtian, they knew Duan Lingtian had unfathomable strength. However, they did not expect Duan Lingtian would be able to destroy a planet that was larger than Earth with just a wave of his hand. Did this not mean that, if Duan Lingtian wanted to, he could destroy Earth with just a wave of his hand? That planet. It's much larger than Earth, right? Long Zhenguo asked as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded and said nonchalantly, it's about 5 times the size of Earth. Long Zhenguo and the others who had just regained their senses were stunned again. Soon after, Long Zhenguo and the others saw Du Wei, the leader of the Devil's Hand, being frozen to death in space. This made them realize that the Devil's Hand's leader, Du Wei, had been frozen to death. It was impossible for ordinary people to survive in outer space. Although Duan Wei is dead, as far as I know, he has planted many super nuclear bombs all over Earth. It's said that if he dies, his men of sacrifice will detonate those super nuclear bombs. Long Zhenguo looked at Duan Lingtian warily and asked, how long has it been since you killed Duan Lingtian? About 10 days. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. However, you don't have to worry, Instructor Long. Before I came to look for you, I've already dealt with those super nuclear bombs. I won't leave behind any threats to Earth. That's good. That's good. Long Zhenguo heaved a sigh of relief. Long Zhenguo heaved a sigh of relief before he solemnly saluted Duan Lingtian. Comrade Lingtian, thank you for everything you've done for Earth. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, the 10 people behind Long Zhenguo saluted Duan Lingtian as well. Their gazes when they looked at Duan Lingtian turned even more fervent and admiring. Instructor Long, I'm also a member of Earth. This is what I should do. Duan Lingtian smiled. Chapter 2536. When Du Wei told Duan Lingtian about the aliens who brought the Nirvana change to Earth, Duan Lingtian also felt there was something wrong with those aliens. He was certain they wanted something from Earth. Otherwise, why would they restrict the development of space navigation technology on Earth? It was obvious that they were afraid of humans leaving Earth. The aliens who brought the Nirvana change to Earth a few decades ago, Long Zhenguo could not help but frown when Duan Lingtian mentioned the aliens. He also felt that there was something wrong with the aliens, but he could not pinpoint exactly what it was. All he knew was that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. After a short discussion between Duan Lingtian and Long Zhenguo, Duan Lingtian found out that both of them were worried and fearful of the aliens. Naturally, Long Zhenguo was wary of the aliens' strength. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian was worried that the aliens would bring danger to Earth. Earth was his home, and he would not allow anything to happen to Earth. Instructor Long, did the aliens leave behind any clues about their identities when they came to Earth? Duan Lingtian asked. They did mention it. Long Zhenguo nodded. They said that the stellar system they came from is similar to our solar system. It's located in the Milky Way. They also said that they came from planet Lissa, and they're from the Barker family, the most powerful family on planet Lissa. Planet Lissa. The Barker family? Duan Lingtian nodded. Then, he turned to Long Zhenguo and the others and said, Instructor Long, everyone, please come with me to look for the aliens and deal with the potential threat to Earth. I'll also impart some cultivation techniques to you along the way. Long Zhenguo and the others' eyes lit up when they heard that Duan Lingtian was going to bring them to deal with the potential threat to Earth. Long Zhenguo's breathing quickened when he heard Duan Lingtian's last sentence. As for the 10 people behind Long Zhenguo, all of them looked at Long Zhenguo enviously. We'll wait for someone here first. At the same time, Duan Lingtian said to Long Zhenguo and the others. Wait for someone? Long Zhenguo and the others were stunned when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Since Duan Lingtian had brought them here to wait for someone, it meant that person could also come here. It was obvious that someone who was capable of coming here alone was not an ordinary person. Crack. Duan Lingtian lifted his hand and crushed a communication jade token to send a message to Tang Xiao. Then, he looked at Long Zhenguo and extended his divine sense to scan Long Zhenguo's body. In the end, he confirmed what cultivation method he was going to impart to Long Zhenguo. In Duan Lingtian's memory, there were many cultivation methods of the rebirth martial emperor from the Saint Province Realm's Cloud Continent. He could easily find 7 or 8 cultivation methods that were suitable for Long Zhenguo. Boundless heavenly heaven boundless technique. Duan Lingtian was Lingtian's Long Lingtian's was memorized the cultivation technique Long Tian was as a was. This, Long Zhenguo couldn't help but be overjoyed when he read through the new information in his mind. Although he had only cultivated a shallow breathing technique in the past, he was still overjoyed. However, this did not affect him from being able to see how profound the cultivation method represented by the words that appeared in his memory was. The boundless heavenly heaven boundless technique. Just from the name, I can tell it's an amazing cultivation technique. Long Zhenguo was so excited that he could not regain his senses for a long time. The 10 people standing behind Long Zhenguo noticed Long Zhenguo's loss of composure, but they did not know the reason behind it. Otherwise, their eyes would have turned red from envy. I thought you've forgotten about me. A resentful voice sounded from behind Long Zhenguo. A moment later, a slightly resentful voice rang out, causing Long Zhenguo and the others to look left and right in shock. However, they did not see anyone in the surroundings. Swoosh. While they were looking around, a young woman dressed in black appeared next to Duan Lingtian. In Long Zhenguo and the others' eyes, it was as though the black-clad woman had appeared out of thin air. Who's she? Is she another powerhouse comparable to a god like Senior Lingtian? The people standing behind Long Zhenguo were shocked. How beautiful. At the same time, everyone was captivated by the black-clad woman standing next to Duan Lingtian. It was their first time seeing such a beautiful woman. Moreover, the aura she exuded was so elegant that it was difficult for them to disrespect her. The newcomer was none other than Tang Xiao. I need your help with something. Duan Lingtian did not beat around the bush. He cut to the chase and said, I'm looking for a planet in the Milky Way called Planet Lissa. Can you take a look at the star map in your hand and see if it's marked? Duan Lingtian would be able to find Planet Lissa if he spent some time looking for it. However, Duan Lingtian did not intend to waste his time. Unless Tang Xiao Xiao did not mark Planet Lissa on the star map in her hand. If that was the case, he and Tang Xiao Xiao would have to look for it themselves. You're really rude. Tang Xiao Xiao glared at Duan Lingtian before she raised her hand and took out the star chart she had obtained from her ancestor. Then, she began to study the stars and galaxies in the Milky Way and the planets in the stars and galaxies in the stars and galaxies. I found it. Planet Lissa. About 3 minutes later, Tang Xiao Xiao pointed at a mark on the star map in her hand and said to Duan Lingtian, "Lead the way." "Lead the way, we'll go there," Duan Lingtian said. Tang Xiao Xiao seemed to be used to Duan Lingtian's rudeness. She did not waste any time and led the way. Duan Lingtian, Longzhen Guo, and the others followed behind her. Planet Lissa was located in a star system in the Milky Way called the Taylor Galaxy. It was one of the 3 life-preserving planets in this star system. Moreover, it was the largest life-preserving planet among the 3 life-preserving planets. In the Milky Way galaxy, Planet Lissa in the Taylor Galaxy was also a very famous planet. Because the technological civilization on Planet Lissa, in the entire Milky Way, could be ranked as the first echelon. The most powerful family on Planet Lissa, the Barker family, was one of the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way. The 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way represented the 10 most powerful forces in the Milky Way. All of them had the most advanced technology in the Milky Way. However, today's Planet Lissa was not peaceful. Someone had come to provoke the most powerful family on Planet Lissa, the Barker family. People of the Barker family, listen up. I'll give you an hour to deploy your most advanced battleships and weapons. If I'm still alive after an hour, there's no need for the Barker family to exist anymore. A voice that was not amplified by any means was clearly heard on Planet Lissa. Everyone on Planet Lissa, no matter what they were doing, heard the voice loud and clear. Planet Lissa was in an uproar. Heavens! Can someone tell me? Whose voice is that? It's like the voice just rang in my ears. Who the hell is that? How can he be so powerful? How dare he provoke the Barker family? Who the hell is he? Does this guy have a death wish or does he really have the strength? Similar comments could be heard all over Planet Lissa. At the same time, on the internet of Planet Lissa, an extremely clear video appeared in the eyes of all the netizens on Planet Lissa. The background of the video was the headquarters of the Barker family. It was a huge castle that occupied a large area. And now, in the sky not far away from the castle, there was a figure standing in the air. As the camera zoomed in, it could be seen. It was a young man wearing a strange purple robe. The young man stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He stared coldly at the huge castle that housed most of the important members of the Barker family. Heavens! Who the hell is he? He's able to hover in the air without a flying device. Maybe he's using a stealth flying device? Impossible. Didn't you see that the video was posted by Heaven's Eye Media? In front of the special camera of Heavenly Eye Media, no matter what kind of invisible flying tool it is, it can't be invisible in the photos or videos it takes. It's really Heaven's Eye Media's video. On Planet Lissa's internet, the netizens were dumbfounded. Is this guy even human? Being able to stand in the air without any means of flight had already overturned the education they had received since they were born. Cultivator. It's a cultivator. Right at this moment, someone repeatedly typed the word cultivator on the internet, with a series of exclamation marks mixed together with the word cultivator. Cultivator? While the netizens on Planet Lissa were still in a state of confusion. The Barker family's headquarters, which was the huge castle that occupied a large area, was not calm at all. In a spacious meeting room, the Barker family's higher-ups, who had returned from all over Planet Lissa, were gathered together. Can anyone tell me, why would a cultivator come looking for trouble with the Barker family? This cultivator is no ordinary cultivator. He managed to escape the detection of the Barker family's most advanced radar. If he was an ordinary cultivator, he would have been detected by our radar and killed by our defensive weapons. Who is he? Why is he here? Chapter 2537. Duan Lingtian hovered in the air with his hands clasped behind his back. He stared coldly at the gigantic castle in front of him. This was the headquarters of one of the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way, the Barker family. If he wanted to, he could destroy this castle with a wave of his hand. However, he did not do so. Ever since he found out that the Barker family was one of the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way and had the most advanced technology in the Milky Way, he had an idea. And this idea would bring about earth-shattering changes to his home planet, Earth. Even his motherland on Earth, Hua, was expected to enter the first echelon of the many forces in the Milky Way in the near future. It was because of this that he did not want to destroy the Barker family. They are here. Tang Xiao Xiao's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. She had brought Long Zhenguo and the others to Duan Lingtian's side. Just like Duan Lingtian, she hovered in the air without the use of any flying tools. Naturally, Long Zhenguo and the others were led by Tang Xiao Xiao as they flew in the air. If Tang Xiao Xiao withdrew her power, they would lose their footing. Unless they fell into a deep river or deep sea, they would either die or be crippled. Almost at the same time that Tang Xiao Xiao and the others appeared. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Within the castle, several flying tools rose into the air and flew towards Duan Lingtian and the others. In the blink of an eye, half of the sky was filled with flying tools. The people in these flying tools were the leaders of the Barker family. The leader of the group was none other than the patriarch of the Barker family. He stood on top of a flying tool that looked like a speedboat. His face was full of smiles. When he was still some distance away from Duan Lingtian, the flying tool beneath his feet came to a halt. It was as if he did not dare to cross the line. Sir, I am the patriarch of the Barker family, Leylin. I don't think the Barker family has done anything to offend you. The patriarch of the Barker family, Leylin, spoke to Duan Lingtian through the loudspeaker of his communicator. The fact that the purple-clad young man could evade the Barker family's radar meant that he was no ordinary cultivator. If possible, he and his clansmen didn't want the Barker family to provoke a powerful cultivator. It would be best if they could kill a powerful cultivator. If they couldn't and the cultivator decided to seek revenge in the future, the Barker family would not be able to fend them off no matter how powerful they were. The head of the Barker family, is it? Duan Lingtian glanced at Leylin and said, a few decades ago, a group of people from the Barker family went to a star system called the Solar System. They went to the only planet in the Solar System, Earth. Right now, go and call out the leader of that group. When Duan Lingtian finished speaking, there was no room for doubt in his tone. It was as though he was giving an order. How can you speak to our patriarch like that? Damn it. The patriarch is being courteous to you because he's giving you face. Don't be so shameless. Seeing the purple-clad cultivator speak to their patriarch in such a commanding tone, many of the Barker family's higher-ups were enraged. They glared at Duan Lingtian, their eyes blazing with fury. Shut up. Just as the Barker family's higher-ups were reprimanding Duan Lingtian suddenly spoke. His voice was like a clap of thunder, drowning out the voices of the Barker family's higher-ups. I'm talking to your patriarch. Why are you interrupting? Show some respect. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the Barker family's higher-ups reacted. Duan Lingtian didn't do anything, but every single one of the Barker family's higher-ups who had reprimanded Duan Lingtian earlier had their left arm severed at the shoulder. Judging by the cut, it was made by a sharp blade. Ah! Ah! The Barker family's higher-ups let out heart-wrenching screams in unison. Frantically, they reached out with their right hand and pressed their severed left arm against the wound. Then, they each took out a bottle of glowing blue medicine and drank it. A few moments later, their left shoulder stopped bleeding and their left arm was reattached. It looked unscathed. Duan Lingtian wasn't surprised by this. Tang Xiaoxiao had told him that some of the more advanced civilizations had developed genetic medicine that could heal external injuries. Even if one's arm or leg was severed, they could be reattached as long as they consumed the corresponding genetic medicine within a short period of time. However, Just because Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao weren't surprised didn't mean that Long Zhenghua and the others weren't. Isn't this genetic medicine a little too powerful? Even with the best healing gene potion that we have developed on Earth, such an injury would take at least half a month to heal, right? But these guys, they healed in the blink of an eye. Long Zhenghua and the other Barker family members exchanged a look. They could see the shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. On the other hand, Long Zhenghua and the rest of the Barker family members were still amazed by the efficacy of the genetic medicine. On the other hand, the Barker family leaders, including the Barker family leader, and the netizens of Lissa who were watching the live stream were all in a state of shock. How? How did he do it? Isn't his speed a little too fast? In the blink of an eye, the Barker family members lost their left arms. That speed. It's faster than the speed of light. The Barker family members weren't the only ones who were shocked. Even the netizens on planet Lissa were shocked. While they were still in shock, they quickly spread the news throughout planet Lissa. Soon, everyone on planet Lissa knew that the Barker family had provoked a powerful being who called himself a cultivator. At this time, on the internet of planet Lissa, some knowledgeable people had begun to explain the meaning of the word cultivator. The netizens on planet Lissa were finally able to unravel the mystery of the cultivator. Cultivators absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to cultivate their bodies, allowing them to possess unparalleled strength. In the end, they can even possess the strength of gods. It is said that there are other galaxies outside of our Milky Way. Among those galaxies, there are galaxies ruled by cultivators. I once heard from an interstellar merchant that some cultivators can even defeat the legendary disaster-level battleship on their own. When the netizens on planet Lissa heard the news, they were shocked. A disaster-level battleship? That's the product of an SS-grade technological civilization. Our Milky Way is only an A-grade technological civilization. There's no way we can develop a disaster-level battleship. So, a cultivator who can defeat a disaster-level battleship on his own can even destroy all the technological civilizations in our Milky Way? Oh my god. This is too scary. As the netizens on planet Lissa continued to discuss the news, their mood was clouded by a layer of haze. This cultivator. Could he be the kind of cultivator who can defeat a disaster-level battleship on his own? A netizen on planet Lissa's netizens posted a post on one of the netizens' forums. As soon as the post was posted, it was pushed to the top of the list. OP, are you hallucinating? The disaster-level battleship is a mythical existence. A cultivator who can defeat a disaster-level battleship is also a mythical existence. It's impossible for such a person to exist in our Milky Way. That's right. OP is an idiot. Identification complete. +1+1. This post inexplicably became popular, and it was pushed to the hot topic of the forum, attracting many netizens of planet Lissa to watch and watch. Meanwhile, the netizens on planet Lissa were in an uproar. The members of the Barker family's surveillance department were studying a video in a frenzy. They slowed down the video, and slowed it down again and again. It was a video of the Barker family members' left arms being chopped off. The members of the Barker family tried to slow down the video to find traces of the Duan Lingtian's attack. However, they were destined to be disappointed. Patriarch, we tried our best to slow down the video, but we still can't see how the cultivator did it. We didn't even see how he chopped off Elder Bree's left arm. Leylin, the patriarch of the Barker family, received a message from the head of the surveillance department. Immediately, his expression changed. At this time, he also realized the seriousness of the matter. Investigate. Hurry up and investigate. Who the hell is it? A few decades ago, he brought people to the solar system. He went to the planet called Earth in the solar system. Once you find out who he is, I want him to come out and see me. Leylin bellowed through a megaphone at the Barker family's higher-ups. The members of the Barker family shuddered. Uncle. At this moment, at the back of the crowd, a young man in a silver suit drove a flying tool to Leylin's side. He lowered his head and said timidly, "Back then, I was the one who brought people to the solar system, to that Earth." It's him. Long Zhenghua, who was standing behind Duan Lingtian, pointed at the young man. A few decades ago, He was the one who brought people to Earth. He brought a few hundred years of advanced civilization to Earth. It was also him and the people around him that limited the development of Earth's technological civilization in space navigation. Chapter 2538. Long Zhengguo could still remember. Back then, when this young man in a silver suit had arrived on Earth, he had been in high spirits. Every leader of a major country on Earth revolved around him. Now, this once high-spirited alien leader was as docile as a cat in front of the patriarch of the Barker family. In fact, when he mentioned that he was the one who had gone to Earth, his tone was full of anxiety. "Reynold, what did you do on that planet?" Leylin looked at his nephew and asked in a low voice. This nephew of his was the child left behind by his only younger brother. That was because his younger brother and his wife had died in order to save him. Thus, he treated this nephew of his as his own son. Reynold wanted to say something, but he hesitated. At the same time, he glanced at the purple-clad young man standing in the distance with fear. He could tell that this young man was here. This purple-clad young man had probably come looking for him because of that planet. However, he would never have dreamed that this would happen. That backward planet was actually related to a cultivator with extraordinary strength. "Speak." Leylin saw his nephew's hesitation, and he glared at him and shouted coldly. "I saw that the planet was backward, so I brought them a technological civilization that was a few hundred years more advanced than their current one. I had good intentions." Reynold lowered his head as he spoke, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. "What are you had good intentions?" However, as soon as Lei Luo finished speaking, a sneer was heard. The sneer came from Duan Lingtian. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian raised his hand gently. Whoosh. After that, Reylo, who was next to Leylin, immediately left the flying tool under his feet and shot toward Duan Lingtian like a cannonball. Before anyone could react, Duan Lingtian had already grabbed Reynold by the neck. Duan Lingtian lifted Reynold into the air. Since Duan Lingtian had removed the power that was holding Reynold was now dangling in Duan Lingtian's hand. His face was as red as blood, and he could not breathe. It was obvious that he would suffocate to death soon. "Sir, don't cross the line." Leylin's expression changed as he glared at Duan Lingtian. "Cross the line?" Duan Lingtian smiled faintly at Leylin's words. "I was going to have some fun with the Barker family, but I've changed my mind. Perhaps I shouldn't have wasted so much time on the Barker family from the start." As Duan Lingtian spoke, the energy in his body transformed into waves of invisible energy that swept out and shrouded the back of the gigantic castle in front of him. The back of the castle was where the Barker family's armory was located. The Barker family owned 37 of the most powerful warships equipped with the most advanced weaponry. They were usually docked there, protecting the Barker family like guardians. Bang! 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 Almost at the same time when Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the huge castle in front shook as though it had experienced a violent earthquake. Immediately after, a series of thunderous booms came from the back of the castle from afar. "What's going on? An earthquake?" Every member of the Barker family, including the Barker family patriarch, turned to look in the direction of the commotion. With just one look, their eyeballs almost popped out of their socket. Good heavens! What did they just see? Under the watchful eyes of the Barker family's higher-ups, a cloud of dust rose from the back of the huge castle. A moment later, 37 mountain-like behemoths rose into the air from the dust-filled ground. It didn't take long for the behemoths to reveal themselves. They were warships, each emblazoned with the insignia of the Barker family. "Those are transcendent-level warships. Heavens! They really are transcendent-level warships. There are 37 of them. I've heard that the Barker family owns 37 transcendent-level warships. I can't believe it's true. These are the foundation of the Barker family's survival. Is the Barker family going to use all of their transcendent-level warships to kill that cultivator?" On Planet Lissa's internet, a group of netizens who saw the 37 transcendent-level warships through the livestream were stunned. One transcendent-level warship was already scary enough. Now that 37 transcendent-level warships had been deployed, they couldn't help but tremble in fear. Laylin, the patriarch of the Barker family, saw the 37 extraordinary-class warships and turned to the high-ranking members of the Barker family behind him. He bellowed, "Damn it! Who gave you the permission to use the transcendent-level warships?" Laylin knew that once the transcendent-level warships were deployed, it would mean that they would have to fight to the death with that cultivator. It would be fine if they could kill the cultivator. But if they couldn't, the Barker family would be the ones to suffer when the cultivator recovered. "Patriarch, without your permission, no one can use the transcendent-level warships." "Yes, Patriarch. Without your permission, no one can use the family's transcendent-level warship." The Barker family's higher-ups felt wronged by Laylin's glare. They were also dumbfounded by the situation in front of them. They didn't know what was going on. Laylin, the head of the Barker family, snapped out of his daze upon hearing the words of the Barker family. That's right. The transcendent-level warships were the Barker family's most powerful weapon. Without his permission, they would not be deployed. Could it be, all of a sudden, a thought flashed through Laylin's mind. As if he had thought of something, he immediately turned around and looked at the purple-clothed youth who was holding his nephew in the distance with an expression of shock and disbelief. A terrifying thought surfaced in his mind. That was, the great commotion before their eyes was all caused by this purple-clothed young man. The strange movements of the 37 transcendent-level warships must have something to do with this young man. This seemed to confirm Laylin's suspicions. So these are the transcendent-level warships that the Barker family relies on to survive. They don't seem like much. They're much worse than the disaster-level warships I saw in the Coast Galaxy. Duan Lingtian commanded the 37 transcendent-level warships to speed up again. In the blink of an eye, they appeared around him and Tang Xiaoxiao, circling around them. The weapons of the 37 transcendent-level warships were pointed at the Barker family. In an instant. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The Barker family members' expressions changed. If they couldn't figure out what was going on by now, they would have lived their lives in vain. All 37 of the Barker family's warships were under the control of the cultivator before them. What's going on? These transcendent-level warships don't seem to belong to the Barker family. It looks more like this cultivator is controlling them. Look at how he controls them. It's like he's playing with toys. Who the hell is he? At the same time, the internet on planet Lissa was filled with awe. Of course, Tang Xiaoxiao continued Duan Lingtian's words. She smiled at Duan Lingtian and said, "These transcendent-level warships are 2 grades lower than the disaster-level warships. I've recorded everything you did in the Coast Galaxy using the mirror image talisman. Now, let's show them." Under Duan Lingtian's shocked gaze, Tang Xiaoxiao raised her hand and took out a Dao talisman before she crushed it. A moment later, a huge mirror image that was constantly changing appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was also shown to everyone on planet Lissa through a live broadcast. The mirror image formed by the mirror image talisman was similar to a projection. It showed the scene of Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao being surrounded by 18 disaster-level warships from the Garnier family in the Coast Galaxy. Are those disaster-level warships? Heavens! Those are the legendary disaster-level warships. It's exactly the same as the legends. I once obtained a portrait of a disaster-level warship from an interstellar merchant. The 18 disaster-level warships in the projection are indeed disaster-level warships. They are 2 grades higher than transcendent-level warships. These two. They're surrounded by 18 disaster-level warships, but they're still alive. Isn't it obvious? If they're dead, why would they be here on planet Lissa? Everyone on planet Lissa was shocked by the projection that appeared before them. However, they were even more shocked by what happened after that. Whoosh! A purple light flashed, and the purple-clad young man in the projection disappeared. In the next moment, one of the disaster-level warships was destroyed. A moment later, they saw the purple-clad young man in the projection. As the 17 disaster-level battleships opened fire at the same time, the purple-robed young man emerged from the barrage unscathed. Silence fell on planet Lissa at this moment. In just a blink of an eye, one of the disaster-level warships was destroyed. Under the bombardment of 17 disaster-level warships, the purple-clad young man was unscathed. Heavens! Is he still human? How terrifying! How terrifying! No wonder he was able to toy with the 37 transcendent-level warships of the Barker family. With the power he displayed in the projection, even a disaster-level warship is no different from a toy in front of him. Duan Lingtian's peerless strength was displayed before everyone on planet Lissa. Chapter 2539. Thud. With a soft thud, the patriarch of the Barker family, Leylin, collapsed on the flying tool at his feet. He stared blankly at the godlike purple figure in the projection. His heart seemed to have stopped beating for a moment. The faces of the Barker family's higher-ups were drained of all color. Their legs were trembling, and their bodies were shaking. Heavens! How did the Barker family provoke such a powerful being? Now, are you still going to say that you helped Earth out of kindness? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian stared coldly at Reynolds, who was lifted up by his neck as he asked coldly. Reynolds was already stunned when he saw Duan Lingtian controlling the 37 extraordinary-level battleships as if they were toys. At that time, he had already realized something. The cultivator in front of him was not someone the Barker family could deal with. Now, after witnessing everything that was displayed in the mirror image that looked like a projection, the cultivator in front of him could easily destroy the legendary disaster-level battleship, which was 2 levels higher than the transcendent-level battleship. Moreover, he was unscathed under the bombardment of 17 disaster-level battleships. He's not human. He's not human. He's a demon. He's a demon. Reynolds roared in his heart. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, his eyes were filled with fear. No, it's not that. Under Duan Lingtian's cold gaze, Reynolds finally revealed the truth. I want to nurture that planet and make it a colonial planet for the Barker family. I want it to be a slave for the Barker family to do whatever we want. Duan Lingtian shook his head. As soon as Reynolds said this, Duan Lingtian had an expression that said as expected. Long Zhenghua and the others' faces changed. If it was not for Duan Lingtian, they could imagine that Earth would not have been able to escape the calamity in the near future. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. When the Barker family's higher-ups heard Reynolds' words, they were so angry that they almost fainted. They could understand Reynolds' actions. After all, they often went out to look for underdeveloped planets, nurture them, and enslave them. However, the planets they chose did not have any background. Now, they could see it too. The backward planet that Reynolds found, although its technology was backward, had powerful cultivators. In other words, this time, Reynolds had kicked an iron plate. Sir, Reynolds' actions are purely personal. They have nothing to do with the Barker family. Please do not drag the Barker family into this. An elder from the Barker family voiced his opinion. Yes, Your Excellency. We didn't know what Reynolds did. Sir, Reynolds is at your mercy, but I hope you can spare the Barker family. More and more of the Barker family's higher-ups spoke up, choosing to sacrifice the rook to save the king. What say you, patriarch of the Barker family? Duan Lingtian ignored the high-ranking officials of the Barker family and looked at Leylin with a faint smile on his face. Sir. Leylin stood up, but his legs were still trembling. He looked at Duan Lingtian and said with a sigh, although Reynolds acted on his own accord, he was also helping the Barker family colonize planets. Duan Lingtian shook his head. On behalf of the Barker family, I, Leylin, am willing to bear this responsibility, Leylin declared. Patriarch. The Barker family elders' faces paled. They wanted nothing more than to sever all ties with Reynolds, but their patriarch was still trying to tie Reynolds to their family. Patriarch, I know Reynolds' parents saved your life, and both of them died trying to save you, but today's matter concerns the survival of the family. Please reconsider. Yes, Patriarch. You can't risk the family's survival because of your personal grudge. Many of the elders of the Barker family glared at Leylin, trying to pressure him to change his mind. Uncle. Reynolds did not expect that when the upper echelons of the family were about to give up on him, his uncle would still protect him. For a moment, He was so touched that he could not help but tremble. "My lord, what happened on Earth was my own doing. It has nothing to do with the Barker family." Reynolds gritted his teeth as if he had made up his mind. He looked at Duan Lingtian and said, "You can kill me or torture me as you wish. You two, uncle and nephew, are quite affectionate." Duan Lingtian took a deep look at Leylin and Reynolds before he released Reynolds from his grip. Then, he casually sent Reynolds to the flying tool that Leylin was on. The members of the Barker family were dumbfounded. They had no idea what this cultivator was up to. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian waved his hand and brought Tang Xiao Xiao, Long Zhenguo, and the others with him as they flew toward the gigantic castle. At the same time, under Duan Lingtian's control, the 37 transcendent-level warships returned to the armory behind the castle. Of course, the armory was now in ruins. "Now, my friend and I would like to visit the Barker family. Patriarch Leylin, you wouldn't mind, would you?" Duan Lingtian asked as he glanced at Leylin, the patriarch of the Barker family, when they arrived at the top of the castle. "Huh!" Leylin was taken aback at first, but quickly regained his composure. He realized that there was still room for negotiation. He nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Of course. It is the Barker family's honor to have you as a guest, my lord." Soon, the lively scene in the live broadcast disappeared. The Barker family elders escorted Duan Lingtian and the others into the huge castle where the Barker family's headquarters was located. What's going on? It seems like that cultivator intentionally showed mercy. Isn't it obvious? With his strength, it would be easy for him to destroy the Barker family. He must be planning to let the Barker family go. At this time, everyone on planet Lissa could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. They had been worried that the cultivator would destroy the Barker family. After all, the Barker family had deep roots on Lissa. Their businesses were spread all over the planet. If the cultivator decided to make a move on the Barker family, they would be implicated as well. Under these circumstances, they hoped that the cultivator and the Barker family could resolve the matter peacefully. Elsewhere, Duan Lingtian, Tang Xiaoxiao, Long Zhenguo, and the others were escorted by Patriarch Leylin into the castle where the Barker family's headquarters was located. They entered the Barker family's largest meeting room. As expected, Duan Lingtian was ushered in at the head of the table. "Originally, I was going to take away all your transcendent-level warships and all your researchers. I was going to leave you to fend for yourselves." Duan Lingtian went straight to the point after the Barker family elders had taken their seats. Duan Lingtian's words caused the faces of the Barker family elders to turn pale. If Duan Lingtian's words were true, the Barker family would soon be swallowed up by the other 9 families of the Milky Way. Without transcendent-level warships and researchers, the Barker family would be a toothless tiger. "But I've changed my mind." Duan Lingtian's words caused the Barker family elders to heave a sigh of relief. "I won't be asking for your opinion on what I'm going to say next. It doesn't matter if you agree or not. It won't affect the outcome," Duan Lingtian said domineeringly under the watchful eyes of the others. Duan Lingtian's words caused the Barker family elders to grimace. At this time, did they still have a choice? As long as the cultivator before them did not destroy the Barker family, they would have no choice but to grit their teeth and accept the terms no matter how harsh they were. "Next, I will place a seal on the bodies of the Barker family elders." Duan Lingtian raised his hand, and sword rays shot out of his hand and pierced into the bodies of the high-ranking members of the Barker family. The Barker family elders' faces paled. They felt as if their lives were no longer in their own hands. "I will pass the seal to this man. His name is Long Zhenguo. He is the head of the Special Case Department on Earth." Duan Lingtian looked at Long Zhenguo. "With the seal I've placed on him, he can kill all of you with a single thought within 100 years. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the expressions of the Barker family's high-ranking officials changed drastically. "Don't even think about using your technology to investigate the seal I've placed on you. Not only will you fail to do so, you might even trigger the seal. Once the seal is triggered, all of you will be dead," Duan Lingtian said again, cutting off any chance of escape for the Barker family's high-ranking officials. My lord, what do you want the Barker family to do within 100 years? As the patriarch of the Barker family, Leylin knew that Duan Lingtian had a reason for doing this. He wanted the Barker family to do something for him. As for the seal, Duan Lingtian must be worried that the Barker family would not be obedient enough. Within 100 years, I want you to bring Earth's technology to a level where it can rival the Barker family's technology. I want the Hua family to be the 11th most powerful force in the Milky Way in 100 years. I want the Barker family to be on par with the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way. Chapter 2540. Hiss, 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 hiss. The moment Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Long Zhenguo and his 10 generals couldn't help but inhale sharply. They would never have thought that Duan Lingtian had put in a lot of effort to get China out of the solar system and into the Milky Way. 100 years later, it became the 11th most powerful force in the Milky Way, standing shoulder to shoulder with the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way. Although this is a little difficult, the Barker family will do our best. After hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Barker's expression turned solemn. He knew how difficult the task Duan Lingtian was talking about was, but he had no other choice. The Barker family had no other choice. Unless he had a death wish, and unless every member of the Barker family had a death wish. That's good. Duan Lingtian nodded. Then, he looked at Long Zhenguo and said, Instructor Long, you and your men will stay here and discuss the details with them. When the time comes, they'll send you back to Earth. With the speed of the extraordinary level warship that they have, it will only take them a few days to send you all back to Earth. Duan Lingtian's words caused the corners of the Barker family members' mouths to twitch uncontrollably. That was an extraordinary level battleship. Now, judging from the words of this cultivator, he actually wanted to use the extraordinary level battleship as a means of transportation. Lingtian, thank you for everything you've done for China. Long Zhenguo abruptly rose to his feet, straightened his back, and saluted Duan Lingtian with a solemn expression. Long Zhenguo's 10 generals also saluted Duan Lingtian. When they looked at Duan Lingtian again, there was only worship in their eyes. When Duan Lingtian sailed through space with his physical body and took them away from Earth, they were already shocked by Duan Lingtian's means. However, it was only later that they realized that was only the tip of the iceberg of Duan Lingtian's strength. The transcendent level battleship was the strongest weapon in the Barker clan, one of the 10 great clans in the Milky Way. However, before Duan Lingtian, the transcendent level battleship was like a child's toy. The Barker family was one of the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way. In other words, with Duan Lingtian's current strength, even if he wanted to dominate the Milky Way, it would be a very simple matter. Instructor Long, I'm Chinese too. Duan Lingtian smiled at Long Zhenguo before he beckoned to Tang Xiaoxiao and left with Tang Xiaoxiao. They left the Barker family and planet Lissa. With your strength, you could easily force the 10 great families of the Milky Way to submit to Earth's Hua nation. Why did you only ask the Barker family to help Earth's Hua nation become the most powerful family in the Milky Way in 100 years? After leaving planet Lissa, Tang Xiaoxiao asked the question in her heart. In her opinion, with Duan Lingtian's current strength, it would be a piece of cake for Earth's Hua nation to dominate the Milky Way. It's not difficult for Earth's Hua nation to dominate the Milky Way, but what about after that? Duan Lingtian shook his head when he heard Tang Xiaoxiao's question. Humans are greedy creatures. If Earth's Hua nation were to dominate the Milky Way, it would definitely try to expand its influence to other galaxies. After all, the resources in the Milky Way aren't that great. If I could force the Milky Way to submit to Earth's Hua nation, would I be able to force all the galaxies in the Yang Huang realm to submit to it? Even if I could, I don't have the time to do it. Duan Lingtian continued, so, what I'm doing now is undoubtedly the best choice. This way, not only will Earth's Hua nation become the most powerful family in the Milky Way, but it will also put some pressure on Earth. After all, there are still the 10 great families in the Milky Way that are not inferior to Earth's Hua nation. Under such circumstances, don't you think it's the best choice for Earth's Hua nation to build a solid foundation and slowly develop? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at Tang Xiaoxiao. You really put a lot of thought into this. Tang Xiaoxiao could not help but sigh when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. However, Tang Xiaoxiao suddenly thought of something and asked, "Won't Instructor Long be unhappy with what you're doing? After all, he can tell you're strong enough to dominate the Milky Way and help Earth's Hua nation dominate the Milky Way. After all, as you said earlier, humans are greedy creatures." Tang Xiaoxiao said. "He won't." Duan Lingtian shook his head. "I know Instructor Long very well. He's a person who's content with what he has. Furthermore, I believe that he can also see the reason behind my actions." "You mean, he can tell you're doing this for his own good?" Tang Xiaoxiao was surprised. "Yes." Duan Lingtian nodded. As it turned out, Duan Lingtian's guess was right. After Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao left, Long Zhenguo and his 10 generals were led to a luxurious guest room by the patriarch of the Barker family. However, Long Zhenguo and his generals did not rest immediately. The 10 great battle generals under his command were all gathered in the guest room he was staying in. "Leader, with Blood Wolf Ling Tian's current strength, it won't be difficult for him to help Hua nation conquer the Milky Way. Why didn't he do that?" one of the generals asked. While Long Zhenguo's 10 generals were still in awe of Duan Lingtian's heaven-defying strength, one of them could not help but look at Long Zhenguo with a puzzled expression on his face. The other 9 generals turned to look at Long Zhenguo. Long Zhenguo snorted. "There's a saying in the Hua nation that goes, 'Contentment is bliss.' That brat Ling Tian has done so much for the Hua nation, and has done us a huge favor. There's no reason for us to ask him to do more than that." "Understood." The 10 generals nodded in agreement. "Besides, he's doing this for the long term." Long Zhenguo's next words were similar to what Duan Lingtian had said to Tang Xiaoxiao. "What kind of seal did you place on the Barker family's leaders?" Tang Xiaoxiao asked Duan Lingtian after they left planet Lissa's solar system. She had no idea what Duan Lingtian had done to the high-ranking officials of the Barker family. "It's not a restrictive seal. It's just a little trick I used to toy with them." Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. In truth, he did not know anything about restrictive seals. Tang Xiaoxiao was speechless when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. "Aren't you afraid that they'll find out and ignore you? Once they find out, they definitely won't do as you say and help Earth and China to improve their technology. Do you think they'll find out? Are they willing to take the risk?" Duan Lingtian responded with a question. His tone was filled with confidence. Tang Xiaoxiao was speechless when she heard this. If she was in the Barker family's shoes, it would be impossible for her to find out. Moreover, she would not ignore Duan Lingtian since it was too risky. "Where are we going now?" Tang Xiaoxiao asked again. "I plan to return to Earth for a few days before returning to the Saint Province realm. After I'm done with the matters in the Saint Province realm, if I have time, I want to return to Yanghuang realm and visit the Yellow the Arch mansion," Duan Lingtian said. He did not forget about the invitation from Shen Yuanji, a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial from the Yellow the Arch mansion. He also did not forget that his good friend Su Li would go to the Yellow the Arch mansion after leaving the Beyond Heaven secret zone. If possible, he wanted to see Su Li again before he ascended. Now, all of his friends and family had been taken away, so he especially cherished Su Li, who was still in the mundane realm. "Since I don't know where to go, I'll go with you to the Saint Province realm to have a look," Tang Xiaoxiao said. "All right." Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao were halfway through their journey to the solar system where Earth was located when a voice suddenly rang out. "Rip!" A clear ripping sound rang from the void in front of them, causing Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao to come to a halt. As they came to a halt, they saw another spatial crack appear out of nowhere in the space where they were heading. As soon as the spatial tear appeared, it opened like a door. "You're Duan Lingtian?" A moment later, when the spatial crack opened like a door, a cold voice sounded from within. Then, Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao looked at each other in shock. A skinny figure slowly stepped out of the spatial crack and appeared in front of them. It was a thin middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance. He was the kind of man who would be hard to find in a crowd. However, His eyes that shone with a green light sent chills down Duan Lingtian and Duan Lingtian's spine. This was especially true for Duan Lingtian. At this moment, the thin middle-aged man's eyes were trained on Duan Lingtian. Who are you? Duan Lingtian's expression turned grave when he heard the thin middle-aged man calling out his name. At this moment, he realized the thin middle-aged man did not come with good intentions. Moreover, the thin middle-aged man's appearance was beyond his comprehension. When Duan Lingtian heard the skinny middle-aged man's voice earlier, he had extended his divine consciousness to probe the skinny middle-aged man. He discovered there was no pseudo-realm in this area. For this reason, the thin middle-aged man must have come from a place that was not a pseudo-realm. Even a great overarching golden celestial might not be able to do this, right? Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat. Since you're going to die soon, it doesn't matter if I tell you. Young Master Qing Yang sent me to kill you. Chapter 2541. Young Master Qing Yang. Duan Lingtian's eyes widened when he heard the skinny middle-aged man's words. In the depths of his eyes, boundless flames of fury were burning fiercely. Yun Qing Yang. Upon hearing the skinny middle-aged man's words, Duan Lingtian knew Yun Qing Yang had sent the skinny middle-aged man to kill him. He knew Yun Qing Yang would not let him go so easily. But he didn't expect that. He did not expect Yun Qing Yang would be so heartless as to send someone to kill him. Since he dares to send someone to kill me, it means he's not afraid of Kerr finding out I'm dead. After all, Kerr has my soul pearl. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to figure out why Yun Qing Yang was not afraid. Yun Qing Yang must have used his family and friends to threaten Kerr again. Yun Qing Yang, when Duan Lingtian thought to himself, his gaze turned even colder as he looked at the skinny middle-aged man. If looks could kill, Duan Lingtian would have killed the skinny middle-aged man many times over. So, you're one of Yun Qing Yang's men. Duan Lingtian sneered as he looked at the skinny middle-aged man. As soon as he sneered, he cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to raise his strength. Then, he took out his celestial sword and cast the 5th stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Tens of thousands of sword rays formed a sword formation that hovered above Duan Lingtian's head. The offensive divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, was ready to be unleashed. Currently, Duan Lingtian had completely comprehended the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. His strength was much stronger than before. He was confident he could kill a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial with just one strike. After all, the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, was different from ordinary offensive divine abilities in the Devata realms. Once one comprehended it to its peak, its power would far surpass ordinary offensive divine abilities in the Devata realms. However, his strength was nothing compared to the expert Yun Qing Yang had sent to kill him. Xiao Xiao, quickly leave this place. This person's strength is not inferior to the great overarching golden celestials who left behind all kinds of treasures in the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Duan Lingtian asked Tang Xiao Xiao to leave through telepathy. He was ready to fight to the death. Even though he knew he was no match for the expert sent by Yun Qing Yang, he did not intend to resign himself to his fate. Because that was not his style. However, he did not want to implicate Tang Xiao Xiao. Tang Xiao Xiao was innocent. Shua. Tang Xiao Xiao's expression changed drastically when she heard Duan Lingtian's voice transmission. When the thin middle-aged man in front of her walked out of the spatial rift in space, she had already realized that the other party was not simple. She had extended her divine consciousness and discovered that there were no pseudo-realms in the surroundings. If the thin middle-aged man came from a pseudo-realm, he might not be as strong as her and Duan Lingtian. However, since there were no pseudo-realms in the surroundings, it meant the thin middle-aged man did not come from a pseudo-realm. He must have come from somewhere else. According to the ancient records in the Tang sect, only great overarching golden celestials or stronger in the Devata realms were capable of such a feat. Ordinary golden celestials were not capable of such a feat. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Tang Xiao Xiao's expression changed drastically when she confirmed this. Duan Lingtian, you. How did you offend such a powerful person? Tang Xiao Xiao's voice trembled slightly when she sent the voice transmission to Duan Lingtian. Fear could be heard in her voice. She could not help but feel apprehensive. After all, the thin middle-aged man was a great overarching golden celestial or stronger in the Devata realms. Why were there so many people after the treasure vaults in the Beyond Heaven secret zone? It was because the treasure vaults were left behind by great overarching golden celestials. And now, an expert of that level had appeared before her. How could she not be shocked? How could she not be fearful? Don't worry about that. You should leave now. Duan Lingtian did not expect Tang Xiao Xiao would still be in the mood to talk to him through voice transmission at this moment. He hastily sent another voice transmission to her. It's too late. Extend your divine consciousness and have a look. The surrounding space has been shrouded by his energy. It's impossible for me to leave now. Tang Xiao Xiao smiled bitterly. Swoosh. Upon hearing Tang Xiao Xiao's words, Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. He glared at the thin middle-aged man who was looking at him disdainfully and said in a deep voice, Yun Qingyang only sent you to kill me. This has nothing to do with my friend. Let her go. You can't even save yourself, and yet, you want your friend to leave. You're really protective of the fairer sex. The thin middle-aged man said with a sinister smile. However, if you want her to leave, I won't let her leave. Now that I won't let her leave, what can you do to me? The disdain in the thin middle-aged man's eyes deepened as soon as he finished speaking. Duan Lingtian was so enraged that his eyes turned red. The sword formation above his head began to stir restlessly as though it would fly out and attack the skinny middle-aged man at any time. Your technique is similar to Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. At this moment, the skinny middle-aged man glanced at Duan Lingtian indifferently and said, I was wondering why young Master Qingyang asked me to attack a heavenly emperor from a Devata realm. It seems like it's because of you. However, compared to Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, you're still far from being a match for him. Even Feng Qingyang couldn't last more than 100 moves against me. In the end, he had no choice but to escape to the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. However, those who enter the Azura Hell, even heavenly emperors, have no chance of surviving, the thin middle-aged man said. Swoosh. Upon hearing the thin middle-aged man's words, Duan Lingtian's expression changed again. He did not expect the thin middle-aged man would be so powerful. He did not expect the thin middle-aged man to be the person Yun Qingyang had sent to kill Feng Qingyang. The reason Yun Qingyang wanted to get rid of Feng Qingyang was because he had obtained Feng Qingyang's legacy. He could be considered Feng Qingyang's successor. Yun Qingyang had sent someone to kill Feng Qingyang because of his relationship with Feng Qingyang. No chance of surviving. The skinny middle-aged man's words continued to reverberate in Duan Lingtian's ears. He had indirectly caused senior Feng Qingyang's death. A heavenly emperor? Tang Xiao Xiao's expression changed drastically when she heard the thin middle-aged man's words. She was shocked. She looked at the thin middle-aged man in disbelief. You're saying a heavenly emperor from a Devata realm can't last more than 100 moves against you? Moreover, you forced him to enter a deadliest place in the Azura Hell where even a heavenly emperor can't survive. Tang Xiao Xiao's voice trembled as she spoke. Naturally, she knew what a heavenly emperor meant. According to the ancient records in the Tang sect, heavenly emperors were the strongest powerhouses in the Devata realms. They were the strongest powerhouses in the Devata realms. There were only 81 heavenly emperors in the 81 Devata realms. However, based on the thin middle-aged man's words, he was even stronger than a heavenly emperor. How could she not be shocked? How could she not be shocked? Humph! The thin middle-aged man scoffed. Among the 81 heavenly emperors in the Devata realms, there are only a handful who can last more than 100 moves against me. However, Feng Qingyang managed to last more than 100 moves against me. In terms of strength, he's at least in the top 20 among the 81 heavenly emperors in the Devata realms. Tang Xiao Xiao's body trembled when she heard the thin middle-aged man's words. She was stunned as though she had been petrified. Boy, I really don't see anything special about you. I didn't expect you to win the heart of the most beautiful woman in the divine offering land. The skinny middle-aged man shifted his gaze from Tang Xiao to Duan Lingtian. His eyes flashed with a hint of killing intent. It seems like you're going to attack me. How about this? I'll stand here. If your attack can reach within 10 meters of me, I'll leave your corpse intact. The thin middle-aged man's voice was filled with disdain and contempt when he spoke. His eyes were filled with mockery as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Roar. Duan Lingtian, who had been waiting for this moment, could no longer hold back when he heard the thin middle-aged man's provocation. A sword formation appeared above his head. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. When the mighty sword formation whizzed out, it was followed by a string of densely packed sword formations. There were a total of 12 sword formations. Including the sword formation that appeared first, there were a total of 13 sword formations. It was obvious Duan Lingtian had cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to raise his strength and cast the most powerful technique from the Sovereign Heart Sword. He had also cast the offensive divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, that he had comprehended to the highest level. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. After the first sword formation merged with the 12 sword formations behind it, the swordlight also grew more and more intense. It was so powerful that it seemed like it could destroy heaven and earth. At this moment, wherever the sword formation passed, terrifying cracks in the void tore open in space as if they were free, cutting across the vast sky. From afar, it looked like gigantic pythons swaying their huge bodies. It seems like I've underestimated you. It's surprising that an eminent celestial from the mundane realm can wield strength comparable to a golden celestial from a Devata realm. But, with this little bit of power, it's impossible for him to get within 10 meters of my body. The thin middle-aged man merely smiled disdainfully when faced with Duan Lingtian's powerful attack. Chapter 2542. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Duan Lingtian unleashed all his strength and techniques. The sword formation whistled out, leaving a terrifying crack in the void as it charged toward the skinny middle-aged man. It seemed as though he was going to kill the skinny middle-aged man. However, when the sword formation was about 10 meters away from the skinny middle-aged man, it strangely came to a halt. In the void 10 meters away from the thin middle-aged man, there seemed to be a force guarding there, like a quagmire. As soon as Duan Lingtian's sword formation came close, it sank into the force and could not move at all. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's sword formation seemed to have lost its momentum. When it was about 10 meters away from the skinny middle-aged man, it was still moving at an extremely fast speed. However, when it was about 10 meters away from the skinny middle-aged man, it suddenly came to a halt. In just a blink of an eye, the sword formation disappeared like a firework. Only the celestial sword was left hovering in the air 10 meters away from the skinny middle-aged man. At this moment, the light on the sword had disappeared. From the beginning until the end, the skinny middle-aged man stood motionless in his spot. His expression did not change at all. Even his robe did not flutter in the slightest. This, Tang Xiao withdrew her shocked gaze from Duan Lingtian. A bitter smile appeared on her face. Earlier, when Duan Lingtian had unleashed his full strength, the commotion was so great that even she could not help but look at it. At the same time, she could tell that Duan Lingtian's attack had far surpassed the strength of a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. It was just as the skinny middle-aged man had said. Duan Lingtian's attack was comparable to a golden celestial in a Devata realm. However, even if Duan Lingtian's attack was comparable to a golden celestial, he could not hurt the skinny middle-aged man at all. After all, based on the skinny middle-aged man's words, Duan Lingtian was not weak at all. He was stronger than most heavenly emperors in the Devata realms. Like an ant, the thin middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian and spoke indifferently. The contempt and disdain in his eyes deepened. Pa. In the next moment, with just a thought from the thin middle-aged man, Duan Lingtian's immortal sword that was suspended 10 meters away from him was strangely broken in two again. What a pity! At the same time, the thin middle-aged man glanced at Duan Lingtian indifferently. According to what I said earlier, if your attack can reach within 10 meters of me, I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Now, I can only turn you into ashes. When the thin middle-aged man finished speaking, he took a step forward unhurriedly. It was this seemingly unhurried step that smashed into Duan Lingtian's chest like a giant hammer, causing Duan Lingtian to feel his chest tighten. Subsequently, a suffocating feeling spread throughout Duan Lingtian's body in just a blink of an eye. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could smell the scent of death. Little Fei Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly as two beautiful figures appeared in his mind. Then, another beautiful figure appeared in his mind. Tian Wu. A moment later, the figures of his parents, his children, and his group of friends and family flashed through his mind one after another. At the same time, his heart was filled with resentment. Although he had expected this outcome when he made his move, he was still unwilling to accept it. However, when he was faced with such an outcome, he was unwilling to die at the hands of Yun Qingyang's men. He was unwilling to die here. He was unwilling to die at the hands of Yun Qingyang's men. Duan Lingtian. Tang Xiao cried out when she saw the thin middle-aged man was about to attack Duan Lingtian. Although she wanted to help Duan Lingtian, she was powerless to do so. After all, she was not even as strong as Duan Lingtian. Even Duan Lingtian was powerless in front of the thin middle-aged man, let alone Tang Xiao. If there's an afterlife, remember that not every woman is someone you can touch. The thin middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian with disdain. His face was expressionless. In the next moment, the thin middle-aged man's aura changed abruptly. An invisible gust of wind swept out toward Duan Lingtian. The thin middle-aged man did not even need to lift a finger to kill someone as insignificant as Duan Lingtian. With just a thought, he could kill Duan Lingtian. With just a thought, the thin middle-aged man sent out an invisible energy that resembled the scythe of the Grim Reaper, aiming to kill Duan Lingtian. From the beginning until the end, not only did Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao not notice the thin middle-aged man's energy, but they did not even have time to react. This was because it was too fast. A cruel smile appeared on the thin middle-aged man's face when he saw the invisible energy that extended from his body was about to engulf Duan Lingtian in just a blink of an eye. In his opinion, the thin middle-aged man was an ordinary person. If his energy enveloped a mere eminent celestial from the mundane realm, he would be annihilated in just a blink of an eye. However, at this critical moment when the thin middle-aged man's energy was about to land on Duan Lingtian, a sudden change occurred. At this moment, the thin middle-aged man's cruel smile froze. Rip! The sound of something tearing rang in the air. The space in front of Duan Lingtian suddenly cracked open. It was a spatial tear. The spatial tear appeared in a timely manner. As soon as it appeared, it swallowed the thin middle-aged man's energy that was about to attack Duan Lingtian. Who's there? The thin middle-aged man's expression changed as he stared coldly at the spatial tear that had suddenly appeared in front of him. It was as though someone was hiding behind the spatial tear. Chem. At this moment, Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao's attention was caught by the spatial tear that had suddenly appeared in front of them. It's me. Suddenly, a lazy and indifferent voice came out from the space crack. As soon as the voice rang in the air, a figure limped out of the spatial tear. He was holding a wine gourd in his hand, and he would occasionally take a sip from it. Based on his figure, it was obvious he was an adult man. Due to his messy hair and the fact that he had his head lowered, one could not see his face clearly. It was impossible to tell if he was young, middle-aged, or old. However, based on his rough voice, one could tell he was a middle-aged man. He was clearly a middle-aged man. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao were stunned when they saw the man in tattered clothes who looked like a beggar walking out of the spatial tear. Since the man had appeared in such a manner, it meant he was at least a great overarching golden celestial in the Devata realm. Chem. When the thin middle-aged man saw the beggar-like man, his eyes were filled with bewilderment. Following which, his gaze landed on the other party's waist, where he saw a faintly discernible identity token. The word cruel was carved on the token. Swoosh. When the skinny middle-aged man saw the word Jie engraved on the identity token hanging on the young man's waist, His expression changed completely. In the next moment, he took a deep breath and bowed respectfully to the beggar-like man. Yun Yi from the Yun clan greets Lord Xie Jie. Currently, the thin middle-aged man no longer had the arrogance he had when he faced Duan Lingtian. Instead, he had an extremely humble appearance. He was like a completely different person compared to before. Yun Yi. The man called Xie Jie raised his head slightly and looked at the skinny middle-aged man indifferently. The spatial tear between the divine offering land and the Devata realm is about to close. Why are you, a member of the Yun clan, here instead of returning to the divine offering land? Lord Xie Jie. Yun Yi did not dare to be negligent when faced with Xie Jie's question. He immediately looked at Duan Lingtian and said, I'm here on young Master Qing Yang's orders to kill this man. I'm sure Lord Yun Yi has heard that a mortal from the mundane world has defiled Miss Ning Shui's reincarnation, Yun Yi said. Slap. However, at practically the instant Yun Yi's words left his mouth, a clear and crisp sound of a slap was heard. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao Xiao saw a slap on Yun Yi's face. Shockingly, a clear palm print had appeared on Yun Yi's face. Lord Xie Jie, you. Yun Yi's expression changed drastically. Yun Yi's expression changed. When he looked at Xie Jie again, besides rage, there was also heartfelt fear in his eyes. How dare a servant of the Yun clan like you speak about the matters of the eldest miss of the Xie clan? Xie Jie, who didn't care about his appearance and looked very sloppy, seemed to have completely changed at this moment. This aura gave people a feeling of awe-inspiring without being angry. Believe it or not, the Yun clan won't pursue this matter even if I kill you right now. Yun Yi's expression changed again when he heard Xie Jie's words. The anger on his face disappeared and was replaced by fear and dread. Scram. Yun Yi seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw when he heard Xie Jie's words. With a wave of his hand, he tore a spatial tear in space. Then, he flew into the spatial tear and disappeared. The spatial tear quickly closed after Yun Yi entered the spatial tear. At this moment, he seemed to have forgotten that he had not obeyed young Master Qing Yang's order to kill Duan Lingtian. In his opinion, this was not the case. Compared to his young Master Qing Yang's order, his own life was more important. As they watched the insufferably arrogant Yun Yi flee like a stray dog in the blink of an eye, whether it was Duan Lingtian or Tang Xiao Xiao, they felt like they were dreaming. If Yun Yi was not exaggerating, he was even stronger than heavenly emperors in the Devata realms. You're Duan Lingtian? Duan Lingtian was still in a daze when he saw Yun Yi leaving. At this moment, the sloppy Xie Jie turned to look at Duan Lingtian. His sharp gaze shot out from under his messy hair, as if he could see through everything. Chapter 2543. Yes. Duan Lingtian felt as though he had nowhere to hide under Xie Jie's gaze. However, he did not dare to ignore Xie Jie's question. Based on the conversation between Yun Qing Yang's subordinate and the middle-aged man in front of him, Duan Lingtian knew the middle-aged man was a middle-aged man. He was certain the middle-aged man was from the Xie clan, the clan of his wife, Ke, in her past life. Duan Lingtian did not think it was a coincidence that the middle-aged man was here. 99 heavenly veins. At this moment, Xie Jie, who was staring at Duan Lingtian, cried out in surprise as though he had discovered a new continent. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao Xiao were taken aback by Xie Jie's words. Tang Xiao Xiao looked at Xie Jie in confusion. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, looked at Xie Jie in surprise. He did not expect Xie Jie to be able to tell that he had 99 heavenly veins. According to Huolaro, the three-legged golden crow, the saint veins in the Saint Province realm were called heavenly veins in the Devata realms. Moreover, heavenly veins had a greater impact on celestials than those in the mundane realms. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of the impact of heavenly veins on celestials in the Devata realms. However, in the mundane realms, the benefits of having 99 heavenly veins were not as obvious as the benefits of having 99 heavenly veins. Perhaps, as Huolaro had said, it was because the strength in the mundane realms was too weak. At the same time, Xie Jie seemed to realize he had lost his composure. He calmed himself down before he said, "You're a good-looking man, but you're too weak." It's a sin that you and Shui became Dao partners after she was reincarnated. You even had a daughter with her. Shui. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he heard Xie Jie's words. He looked at Xie Jie with a burning gaze as he asked, Senior, is Ke doing well? Based on Xie Jie's words, it was clear Duan Lingtian was referring to his wife, Ke. Ke. Xie Jie was stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. His niece had told him that her name in this life was Ke. Her cultivation partner in the mundane realm had also called her that. She's under house arrest now. Do you think she'll recover? Xie Jie snapped as he glanced at Duan Lingtian. House arrest. Duan Lingtian's expression changed. Yun Qingyang put Ke under house arrest. Yun Qingyang? Xie Jie snorted and said disdainfully, that brat is from the Yun family. He doesn't have the guts to put the little princess of the Xie family under house arrest. The one who put Shui under house arrest is her father, your old-fashioned father-in-law. When he reached the end of his sentence, he looked at Duan Lingtian meaningfully. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian knew Ke's father was the father of Ke's previous life, Xie Ning Shui. However, now that Ke had regained her memories, it meant she was Xie Ning Shui, and Xie Ning Shui was her. Alright, I don't have much time, so I'll make it short. Xie Jie did not beat around the bush as he said, I'm here because Shui asked me to. I didn't expect to run into Yun Qingyang who sent his men to kill you. You're lucky. If I came any later, you'd be dead by now. Shui asked me to tell you that your family and friends are safe. They've escaped Yun Qingyang's control and have gone to the Xie family. However, although they've escaped Yun Qingyang's control and gone to the Xie family, my elder brother, Shui's father, has no intention of letting them go. He intends to use your family and friends to threaten Shui and force her to marry Yun Qingyang, Xie Jie said. What? Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically when he heard Xie Jie's words. He said angrily, how can there be such a bastard of a father? That's his biological daughter. Moreover, his daughter already has a husband and a daughter in this life. How can he force her to marry someone else? Damn it. Damn it. Duan Lingtian became hysterical when he spoke. It was as though he had lost his mind. From the beginning until the end, Xie Jie watched silently as Duan Lingtian threw a tantrum. However, his gaze that was hidden under his messy hair was a little strange. Duan Lingtian, you. When Tang Xiaoxiao saw the peculiar expression on Xie Jie's face and recalled that Duan Lingtian seemed to have insulted Xie Jie's elder brother, she felt slightly anxious. She was afraid Xie Jie would vent his anger on Duan Lingtian. Haha. Well said. Well said. Tang Xiaoxiao was about to persuade Duan Lingtian when Xie Jie's hearty laughter interrupted her. That fellow is a bastard. A damn bastard. I've been wanting to scold him for a long time. Bastard. At this moment, Xie Jie was venting the emotions that he had suppressed for many years. He had long held a grudge against his elder brother. However, it was his elder brother, the clan leader of the Xie family. Not only was Tang Xiaoxiao shocked by Xie Jie's sudden outburst, but even Duan Lingtian was shocked as well. Both of them stared at Xie Jie in a daze. After a while, Xie Jie seemed to realize he had lost his composure, so he calmed down. Not bad, not bad. Boy, you're not bad at all. At the same time, Xie Jie looked at Duan Lingtian with a satisfied expression on his face. Your father-in-law doesn't acknowledge you as his son-in-law, but your third uncle acknowledges you as his niece-in-law. Compared to Yun Qingyang, I like you more. Third uncle? Duan Lingtian was taken aback. Look at me. I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Shui's third uncle, Xie Jie. I'm also the third master of the Xie family. Xie Jie introduced himself. You can just call me third uncle like Shui. Yes, third uncle. Duan Lingtian did not expect that his loss of composure earlier, where he scolded his father-in-law whom he had never met, would be acknowledged by his third uncle. This was a good start for him. At the very least, not everyone in Ke's family was against him. He had his own supporters as well. Although I like you more and hope you can be with Shui, to be honest, there's nothing I can do to help you. My eldest brother is used to having the final say. If you want to gain his approval, you'll have to rely on yourself. When Xie Jie saw the hint of joy in the depths of Duan Lingtian's eyes, he threw a bucket of cold water on him. The spatial tunnel between the divine offering land and the Devata realms is about to close, so I'll have a long story to tell you. After calculating the time, Xie Jie looked at Duan Lingtian and said, "Currently, Ke is under house arrest by her father. Her father has also taken her spatial ring. Perhaps that's why Yun Qing Yang dares to send someone to kill you. After all, since the spatial ring has been taken away, it means she won't know if your soul pearl has shattered or not. Otherwise, Yun Qing Yang wouldn't have dared to risk her life. After all, with Shue'er's temper, if she finds out you're dead, she won't live alone." Upon hearing Xie Jie's words, realization dawned on Duan Lingtian. Previously, he had wondered why Yun Qing Yang dared to send someone to kill him. Was he not worried Ke would do something crazy if she found out he was dead? As it turned out, the spatial ring where his soul pearl was kept had been taken away by Ke's father. It was obvious that Yun Qing Yang knew about this, which was why he had sent people to kill him. "Although my bastard brother plans to use your family and friends to threaten Shue'er into marrying Yun Qing Yang, something big has happened in the divine offering land recently, so he won't be able to deal with it for the time being. In 3 days, the spatial tunnel between the divine offering land and the Devata realms will be closed. It'll be closed for about 1,000 years. During this time, there will be many things happening in the divine offering land, so Shue'er will be safe. However, after 1,000 years, when the matter in the divine offering land is settled, I'm afraid my bastard brother will bring up the matter again. At that time, if you don't have the strength to win his approval, I'm afraid Shue'er will have no choice but to marry Yun Qing Yang if she can't withstand the pressure from him." Xie Jie paused for a moment and looked at Duan Lingtian meaningfully. "Third uncle. You mean, I only have 1,000 years. Duan Lingtian was not stupid. Naturally, he knew what Xie Jie meant. "That's right. You only have 1,000 years. Xie Jie nodded. "If you still can't gain his approval after 1,000 years, I'm afraid Shue'er won't be fated to be with you." 1,000 years. Although Duan Lingtian had only lived for a few decades in this life and had not even lived for 100 years, he still felt a great pressure. After all, he knew he might not be able to gain Ke's father's approval even if he was as strong as a heavenly emperor in a Devata realm. "Third uncle, what's the divine offering land?" Duan Lingtian asked with a grim expression on his face. Yun Qing Yang had casually sent a servant from the Yun clan to force Senior Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, to flee to the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. This meant the people in the divine offering land were generally very powerful. The divine offering land is separated from the mundane realms and Devata realms. It's a realm created by a supreme powerhouse. Xie Jie seemed to have expected Duan Lingtian to ask this question, so he was not surprised. He quickly explained, "You'll learn about this when you reach a certain level in the Devata realm. As for other information about the divine offering land, it'll only be a burden to you even if I tell you about it. Therefore, I won't say much about it." Xie Jie paused for a moment before explaining to Duan Lingtian. "Naturally, you'll be able to learn about it when you reach a certain level in the Devata realm. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.